All right. So, welcome everyone out to another episode. It seems like we're going to be doing a series on these. My name is Logan. We have the amazing Jordan from Waters Above Crypto on our today's podcast. And this is number 3. And I know many of you have been waiting for this one because we've gotten a lot of feedback on the previous 2 podcasts. And I thought I just threw this at Jordan, and Jordan's totally down. So we're gonna roll with this. But I had said to Jordan, why don't we do our Bruce Buffer intros that we do before each and every one of our podcasts? So I'm gonna start off, and then Jordan, you can do yours, and then we're gonna just jump right into it. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to have fun with this. So, all right, so. Welcome everybody to a new. Well, actually, that's not even my damn intro. How the hell did I screw that up? All right, so here we go. A very grand welcome to all the fellow decoders out there around the world, wherever you are. My name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality.
Jordan, welcome to another day in the Matrix. Waters Above Crypto. I'm sending you all love and high vibrations.
Nice, dude. I love it up there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our Bruce Buffer intros. Oh, it's just funny. I love it.
Two soothing voices in the Matrix.
Yeah. That's awesome. So welcome out, everybody. And I wanted to just, as you can see, it'll be on the screen. I haven't done the editing yet, but this topic on this podcast is going to be what we left off with on our last one, which is deception versus influence, what those two have in common with one another. And Jordan, we were really in tune with these 2 words on our discussions, just, not even on air, but even off air on our personal endeavors on the phone, what it's like to have deception versus influence. We talked about NASA being involved with that and how deep of a rabbit hole you can go down with these 2 words and this topic itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we were kind of discussing sort of the during the stages of enlightenment, how sometimes you could be a little bit salty towards these quote unquote elites or apex predators, as you coin them. And I think that's really where we were digging in, this idea of, is it bad or good? What exactly are they doing here? And I think that's where that idea of deception versus influence came in. Sort of me and you seem to be kind of leaning more towards the influence side almost, but there is a grandiose conversation to be had out of this for sure.
Yeah. And I think that, there'll be a lot of people listening to this that would be scratching their heads like, how, there is a separating point of deception versus influence when you come down to it, but life's a contradiction. So, but really ultimately, I think everybody would agree listening to this is that everything leads to one true source. Everything has to come from that monad, if you will. And so, I think that's why we were talking about this and how it led into deception versus influence, and how I personally feel anyway, that I think we're just all influencing on the world stage. And even those people that would be labeled deceptive are just influencing you. And whether or not you believe in what they put out on the world stage, their content is irrelevant. Point is that it's just all magic being put out on the world stage, and it's influencing us in some way, shape, or form if you so choose to be influenced by it. So it's a rather deep and dynamic conversation. I know we're going to have a lot of moving parts to this, and we're going to be all over the place, ladies and gentlemen, during this however long, because we don't have any plans on time frames with this, but however long it's going to go for. So, but Jordan, why don't you give us kind of what's going on with you, man? I mean, you've been a busy bee with all your lives and all your content.
Yeah, I've been trying to be everything at once, and sometimes that's not conducive to balance. I'm sure you know that too, because we were just talking about that before we kicked this off. How you're coming out with all these decodes. They're really just absolutely incredible, and it almost seems like every new decode you come out with is like the polar opposite of the last one, but somehow all connects, it all intertwines. And yeah, that's what I've been trying to do with my life, is to just really stay balanced and to be grateful and to also be able to say no to certain things. Like as the channel has become a lot more popular, I've had a lot more people reaching out to me, and it's kind of it's an interesting transition, because I started my YouTube channel in I believe late March. I don't know if you knew that, but it's been a rather quick advancement. I don't even know what to call it, but I'm just so grateful for the community that I've built. And I'm actually doing a live stream tomorrow, so that'll be really exciting. I'm planning to do one at least. I actually enjoy doing my live streams 100 times more than my YouTube content, because I actually tell my viewers in the live streams that I don't want to talk about cryptocurrency. So anyone who doesn't know my work, I predominantly focus on cryptocurrency and utilizing gematria, numerology, and astrology to decode the market, to decode what's going on with crypto, but also kind of having this background understanding that there's a role for blockchain in the future. And although there's an opportunity here to make an immense amount of money off this technology, it's also about seeing where this will go towards how it's implemented in our everyday lives. And right now we're not even close. Actually, we're just kind of scratching the surface. I've heard about these airports recently with the QR codes and all that stuff that's going on. So yeah, I suppose me and you have some things that we could also share about that, because I know you're living in Mexico, right? But you're not you're still a citizen of America,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
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 And that kind of stuff is really interesting for people like us, the ones that we're not too interested in the medical martial law that they're doing, and all the insanity going on, but also wanting to be free. And this idea of freedom, I feel like that's almost another separate topic for us. Like, what is freedom? It almost, we both have touched on this idea of a prison planet. The body is a prison too. Like, we're a slave to this body. We can have all the plans in the world and all the desires, but if we have to use the bathroom really bad,
Yeah.
the only thing that matters is getting to a bathroom.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, your head could be on the guillotine, and if someone beautiful walks by, you'll forget about your impeding death.
Yeah. No. Well, then now, I mean, you go right back to influence, right? It really is just about influence, because yeah, you're right. You could have the worst pains in the world, but if something catches your eye or catches your nose or something beautiful goes through your ears, you instantly can be gravitating towards those things that are pulling at your senses, and now you're being influenced. And so the whole concept behind this topic of deception versus influence is really a grandiose one, right? I love how you use that word. I love that word, grandiose. And you're an influencer, Jordan, because you're actually.
I know, it's so weird to say that. Like, I was talking the other day and I called myself a YouTuber, and I instantaneously felt my frequency change. I felt my fucking chakras got out of alignment for a second. I was like, what am I spell casting right now? Like, because I said this on one of my last live streams, like, I think that we have so much more to us. Like, our superpowers are immense, and we have so much capabilities, and it's almost like we're brought into this world being told we're humans, and people like us, we're like wiping away the amnesia of what we remembered.
Yeah.
I feel like there's almost no learning going on here. It's unlearning. We're trying to like remove all of the blockages.
Yep.
And yeah, when I said that term, when I used that term and then attached it to myself, I like felt my vibration go off for a second. And I don't know, man. Like that word influencer, it's kind of scary in a sense, right? Because you have power over people, albeit your words or your opinions or your what your expertise is. You know, when you are a professional at something, when you have high level of acumen in a particular field, people are going to look up to you, and sometimes they might consider what you are saying as the truth. And the way that I try to, you know, present my work is that these are my truths. Like they're not the universe's truths. And I hope that people see it as such. You know, it's just here's what I specialize in, here's what I've tapped into, this is what I want to share with you, but you take it for what it is, and then you develop your own truth off of that. This way, it's not a cult. You know, it's actually something that has utility, something that could be spun off in whatever aligns with you most vibrationally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely fascinating with the numerology aspects, deception and influence. I mean, now of course, most of you that follow my work know that I'm a huge fan of the Chaldean, but deception is 42 and influence is 41. They're literally like back to back with one another, and you know, deception being in the 42 is tied to life, the universe, and everything, tied to reincarnation, wonderland, tied to crucifixion. Those words. It's really kind of interesting. And then, you know, the D and the I have a lot of say in all this kind of stuff. But I mean, if we're talking really about, you know, just straight up influence on the world stage, Jordan, then that would mean that, you know, NASA, because I just mentioned NASA, and we were talking about this during our podcast number 2 about the esoteric reset. And we were talking about, like, is NASA really deceiving you? Or are they just influencing you? Because they certainly are. They've certainly have gone all in with their chips.
Yeah.
They're all in every time, right? I mean, they're not holding back on what they believe. From the moon landing in 1969 to, you know, these probes they put out into space. To
CGI dildos.
Yeah, CGI, and you know, now they're at a level where some of these videos that they're bringing out with the 4K, even supposedly now it's 8K, of the astronauts out in space, and you know, showing these videos are influencing people. But are they deceiving you? Is it really, you know, is it truth or is it fabrications?
Yeah, man. Utah is a beautiful place, bro. I know exactly where they're filming that shit, bro.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, dude. Come on. Right in Nevada, Utah. That's why they own all that land. It's all BLM land, man.
Yeah, and of course the first nuclear testing, the Trinity test, was in Nevada.
Yeah, I used to have like all this like pent up, I don't know, what is it? Resentment? I don't know, just about NASA. But I'm so glad for NASA, because that was such a huge eye-opening thing, and to also have some conversations with people who are clearly asleep, and to see how adamant they are about what NASA does. It's like the biggest fanboy worship I've ever seen is a bunch of unsophisticated humans just blindly accepting something and doing it as a community at large. And I also love this flat earther thing simultaneously, because you know it's interesting once Netflix makes a documentary about it.
Yeah. Oh boy, now you have another influencer coming on the world stage, a major one at that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was just talking about this the other day, that show Midnight Mass. Have you seen that?
I haven't. No. Is it good? I'll have to watch
Okay.
it.
Well, you know, I don't really look at any of that shit as good anymore, but it's just so eye-opening how it's essentially just showing you a little bit more about like what was going on in the Book of Enoch, and kind of the, you know, the fallen angels and their way of parasiting humanity, and who they use to do this, and their ritual behind it. Like a lot of stuff about blood sacrifice. It's pretty wild. But of course they spin it in this way where it just comes off to you as, you know, like a horror show. But there's so much truth in Hollywood, in the way, you know, speaking of influence and deception, Hollywood.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
literally called Hollywood.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
exactly.
man, that's a beautiful thing. It's
It is.
beautiful.
No, it totally is, man. And again, I'm just all about the influencing aspect and what gets your attention and keeps you entertained, because really it comes down to that as well, is how much can the Matrix entertain you as a person to keep you sucked into this game? Because, I have a Decode coming out. People are really at the edge of their seats waiting for this, Prison Planet #2. And in this upcoming Decode, I will be showing how to exit the game. Now, it will be the starting point of it, and it will be my opinion. But I can tell all of you listening to this that the way to exit the game is not to play it.
Mhm.
And that's obviously okay. Well, how am I going to be entertained now? Because, ultimately NASA, since we're on this talk, NASA's entertaining you. They're entertainers. What do magicians do? They entertain you. They give you something to think about, like, oh, how did they do that? And we're still trying to figure out how did they get that little shitbox car up on the moon, man, in 1969 or whatever the hell it was.
Mhm.
How did that get up there? That thing made out of tin foil and paper mache.
Or what about recently that the Jeff Bezos one where like they sent like a 80-year-old woman with no cosmonaut training whatsoever to outer space. Dude, her body, her abdomen would start to literally rip apart
Yeah.
if what they told us about what it's like to be up there was true. The G force would start to break her bones.
Yeah.
But you know,
Well, it's entertainment.
as long as those Amazon packages keep showing up in 2 days, bro, they're happy. Bread and circus, bread and circus.
Yeah.
That's all this is about.
Yeah, totally. And I just think that, that's why the Matrix trilogy, we got the new one coming out on December 22nd. That whole series, especially the first one, it's just like that Mr. Smith, the agent that wants to keep you influenced. That's why I don't believe there's any such thing as deception. It's just all straight influence. And the entertainment is influencing you. And then you get into the word believe, right? So
yeah, I mean it's an interesting equation, because those people that are very fear-based are going to instantaneously deny such an idea, that deception is absolutely, without any question, without any doubts, what these elites are doing. And the more and more I allow myself to become a more love-based frequency, I definitely see it as such, where deception doesn't even exist for me. It is purely just me watching reality now like a simulation. Like I walk outside my house and I see a bunch of non-player characters, and most of those NPCs don't even know what they're doing. They don't have any purpose. They're in the grocery store. They're not even sure how they got there. They speak words that they're not even sure what they mean. And they have feelings and they're not even sure where those feelings came from.
yep.
And it's kind of an incredible thing to see the magic show once you leave your house. But also at the same time, like somebody who feels the way I feel about this Matrix, when I leave the house, I equally have to be somewhat of an actor, because I have to blend in. Like Neo needs to blend in order for the system to not notice him. And I've told people this many a time, like if you vibrationally align with the stuff that me and Logan are talking about right now, it's because you were brought here to this Earth plane, prison planet, with antivirus software. Like you're just a part of the program, but you are just not easily parasited. And the masses are very easily parasited. And that's where I look at this from influence. Because if they were in full control of what was going on, if they were easily able to make their own choices that weren't 100% based on emotion, they would see it as they're just, falling for the tricks wherever it is. And then that's what makes it so much more entertaining for me now, because I no longer get mad at people when they do something stupid in traffic, or when they say something that, is ignorant or whatever. I just understand what they are. It's like it's just a different species. and a wolf and a sheep, yeah, we're gonna have our differences.
Yeah. Well, the game needs players, right? This game that we're all playing out, it needs players. And it's not a coincidence that the word player in numerology equals 20, just like the word free and the word Mason, the word Mason itself, people have it kind of, they really have been so programmed to wrap their minds around. Once they hear that word, it instantly and automatically means, Satan, or, they're the Jesuits, or they're the bad people. And, but really, when you know that the number 20 is tied to the word duality as well, duality is 20. So you have this player, and it's in my upcoming Decode on Prison Planet 2. It's not just a player, it's called the recycled player. And, that's, it's doing the cycle over again, recycled.
Yeah.
And recycled player is 46 in numerology, which is tied to the word Homo sapien, which is what we all are.
So many pairs of chromosomes we have too, right?
That's right. 46, 23 and me, baby. Yeah. So, and 46 is the mirror of the 64, which is tied to the GD element called gadolinium.
What you just said though, real quick, man, I was about to fall asleep last night, and I don't know why I felt this way, but I just kept saying to myself, like, I am never coming back to this matrix again. Like, this is my last time. Yeah. I just kept saying that to myself over and over again. It was really deep. I was like feeling emotional about it. I was just like, this is it. This is my last time. So I'm going to do the fucking greatest job I can while I'm here. Like, everything that I seek to conquer, I will. And it was like a mantra in my head. I was like, I'm out of this place, man. Like, once I am fulfilled by this experience, I'll know that this is it. And it was a really profound feeling. I don't know if you've ever had that. If you've ever experienced that.
No, I mean, that's a beautiful experience.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
People are having it. I mean, doing all the readings that I do and have done, and then just the people that follow my research, even the people that follow your research, because we're getting kind of spillovers, right, on both of ours. Even your people, I see, I'm not coming back. It's my last. Well, many of you that are listening to this, you don't want to come back, and I get it. I totally get why you would make that decision. I had this when I was decoding Prison Planet 2, and I found the exit strategy, like the formula to exit. I cried. I got so emotional with it. It teared me up, and I was literally crying, because it was at that moment I realized, like, oh my, it's like, because I was emotional because I realized that this game that we all play out is cyclical. I've come to the realization it's like, the white sneaker situation where you buy a brand new pair of shoes. They're all white. And when you wear them every day or wear them quite a bit, they start to get dirty. You may throw them in the wash, take the laces out, get the spaghetti stains off of them. But over time, those white shoes, they become to the point where you can't wear them anymore. And they're just like, I can't wear these out in public. They're shot. The soles are coming out. There's scuffs everywhere. And so you throw them away and you get a new pair. And that's how our reality works. It's golden age to dark age. And then it repeats. It's cyclical. And nature tells us all that. The leaves fall off, they die. It's just nature will tell you all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my work covers a lot with the moon cycles.
The moon cycles, exactly. Perfect scenario right there. Perfect example. The moon cycles, up, down, the market, up, down. So I had this realization. I'm like, man, all right, well, I found the exit strategy. I got really emotional. And then I realized, we're all in the dark age right now. That's not a secret. So all of us.
Yeah, did I tell you that I'm releasing some merch soon that's going to be all black, like matte black, because it's all about the I'm calling this year the year of Saturn, and we're transitioning into the 5,782 Hebrew year, the 22, and kind of this big plan of pumping up the economy to crash it across the board.
Yeah.
And the idea of the all black was just to kind of be like, as we wear this, we are the light that shines through the darkness, like that's kind of what our role is here in this matrix, all of us.
Yeah. Make no mistake about that. But of course, if we really had to break it down, and I think I shared this with you, I believe we're all playing the game of chess, and You know, I'm actually decoding that right now. I had done it in my earlier work, but I'm redoing it right now. And the you have the pawns and then you have the pieces behind the pawns, and it's not a secret when you look at the game of chess and you compare it to the game of life and the pieces on the board. There's so many more pawns than the royal pieces. And that just tells you, like, you know, the pawns have the ability to march down the board and become a queen, essentially, of a royal piece. But the majority of pawns are just collateral damage. So a lot of the people, when you look around, we're living through the zombie apocalypse right now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have to be eating flesh or just like being that Hollywood zombie, but you're seeing the zombies already. Those are people that are asleep. And all of us at one point were in that position. So if you've woken up and you're not asleep anymore, if you're listening to this, you probably say you're not asleep, but you should appreciate the fact that you're not and you once were. And it's not your job to wake those up that are still asleep, that are probably would be now considered a zombie.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, because
it's not your job. It's not your job. I used to fail at that a lot. I used to try to help people, you know, like, but that was what was the beauty behind this YouTube channel, was like, I just, from day one, I was like, you're going to speak your truth. You're not going to like do it for the algorithm or for the likes or none of that shit. You're just going to tell them how you feel. And this happens to me a lot when I get on like a private call with a client and they're like, I didn't anticipate you to speak to me the same way you speak during a live stream. And I was like, well, I'm a real one. And it's not because I'm trying to like impress you. It's because my higher self is listening to everything I say. Like, I'm not real with you. I'm real with me. I'm looking in the mirror, looking at myself, feeling the words as they come out of me. So it's like, I will stay protected as long as I am true to my word. And my word and my truth has nothing to do with anyone else. It has to do with me. And if I stay on that frequency, it's going to bring abundance. Yeah. Because nobody can deny that as being pure.
Yeah, well said there. And again, you're an influencer. That's what you know. And but then you do you think everybody likes your work? No, there's no such thing as a 5-star rating, because time will smash that into pieces. You may have it in the very beginning, and we have a 5-star rating. It's not gonna stay that way, because there will be somebody that will not like or appreciate or resonate with your demeanor, right? So the influencer becomes the deceiver. I'm getting my fair share of persecution from people that think that I'm this and that, and that's totally fine. I'm not here to gain any kind of trophies or blue ribbons to attach to my chest or anything like that.
If you stay true to your word, one person leaves and 100 people walk in the door.
Yeah.
So goodbye. See you later.
Exactly. I'm not, to be honest, and
thanks for opening up the door to the other 100 people that are about to walk in.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I love about your work, Jordan, is I know, and now that I've looked at your chart, which I can't wait to do your reading for you, because I can see why you're doing the things you're doing, but you're just so true to form of who you are and why you're here, and you know it, and that's a beautiful feeling to have. And now you know that you've known this, you're an influencer, and not everybody gets influenced by you, but that doesn't matter to you. All that matters is you just living out your true form of being an influencer and being kind of an integral part of this reality of, waking people up, but not designed to have that responsibility of waking people up. There's that fine line of, like, I'm so mad, I can't wake this person up. It's like, it's not your responsibility to do that as an influencer.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Well, I've learned a lot, though, that it's through self, like I had to have some like really, really profound experiences for me to break down and just give in to truth and allowing myself to actually wait. Like, a lot of us are teeter-tottering between wanting to be a part of this, Hollywood theater that is life. And, I don't know, like, any of your experiences with psychedelics, but like I had an experience with psychedelics once where I lost time. And during it, I was having this like I kept repeating to myself, I don't want time to go away. Will it come back? Like I was sitting there like talking to Saturn, being like, hey, can you just don't let go of my hand? Please don't let go of me. And
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there like a child, you know, like a grown man sitting there like a child in tears, just like wanting time, you know, like having that such a profound experience. And then getting back from that and just being like so grateful for all the things and seeing that there is no time, seeing that all of this measurement, like, you know, like I love playing with the words, like they use measurement to measure man,
Yep.
like measure men. That's what that word is. That's why they grade us in school.
Yep.
Like they put that number on you, they put that letter on you, and they make you what they want you to be, but not what you want you to be. And
Yeah.
that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And when you start like losing time, it's almost like you're losing self. And when you lose self, you lose the, you know, the definitions that you once had towards death. Once you're no longer worried about death, you're no longer worried about offending people or waking people up or any of that shit. You have a mission now. And that's kind of like the vibe that I've been on for the last 4 or 5 years. You know, I've just been really on a mission to, I don't know, to explore that, but not to explore that through adding more through reading or study or any of that. It's just been exploring it through experience, you know, just experiencing life, talking to myself, trying to figure out what's going on here, or even speaking on the live streams, you know, like just talking on the live streams. I don't know if you've experienced this yourself, but I've learned like more about myself through just people's questions they ask me,
Yeah.
because I would have never thought about that, but here they are, they're asking a question and I'm able to dive into a part of myself where I'm like, whoa, I would have never even like naturally gone there. And that's a beautiful thing about communication.
Yeah. 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 Most definitely, man. You know, because, excuse me, because you're such a big influencer now in your own space, and you've created a platform that is a niche. You know, you're this standalone influencer, right? And what I love about what you do is you own that space. Like you step into it. If there's a circle, like, you know, I talk about relationships. I know a lot of people that I see, they got 1 foot in and 1 foot out of their relationship. They're not all in that relationship because something's missing, or they're just afraid to go all in because of maybe some past experiences. And the same thing goes with, you know, what we do for a living, or, you know, like you are absolutely inside your circle. You are all in of what you're doing right now. You have put all your chips in, just like NASA. You can say they're deceivers, but to them, if you go ask them, they're like, no, we're not. We're influencing people. And we had talked about this, you know, like, and we're going to get into that, but you are all in with what you're doing. Absolutely. You are all in, and you are influencing a lot of people. And, you know, not everybody likes you, of course, with what you're doing. Not everybody is going to give you positive feedback, but that's totally fine. Cause like I said, there's no such thing as a 5-star rating. But the point is that if you scrape away everything that you're teaching, and somebody were to sit down with you one-on-one, had a beer, a glass of wine, cup of coffee, glass of water, whatever, just and hang out with you, they'd come to the realization that you're a really good person when it comes to that word good, right? You're a good human being. And really, if I asked you, hey, Jordan, what do you really want for this world? It's like, I want everybody to have a grandiose lifestyle, right? That's under the underlying principle. That is your backbone. That's your foundation. So whether or not you like my voice, whether or not you like my style, whether or not you like what I'm putting out onto the world stage, forget all that kind of stuff. What am I really all about? I just want the world to be a better place for everybody. And that's what I think people miss with all the influences on the world stage. They look at what they're doing and they're like, oh, they're fake. They're fake AF, you know? Or they're this and they're that, you know, and then people assume so many things about what they just see. And again, we're talking about influencing, and there is this deceiving part, you know, and it's just, it blows my mind how people
Well, people are quick to judge when they're not a creator.
Wow.
Like
Totally.
when you're not a creator, it's easy to judge a creator because you're a consumer. And that's what people do. Like now that like I've been a creator my whole existence. And this crypto thing like is not that important to me. Like the reason why I'm sacrificing so much time out of my day and to do what I'm doing for this world is because I know it's just one of the quickest ways to help people at this particular time. You know, I was one of those people that I woke up and I was just like, I'm never taking that fucking jab. Like you'll hold me down and have to kill me first.
Yeah.
Like word is bond.
Yeah.
You will have to do it all to me to make that work. So sorry, but I don't care enough about this matrix to get caught up in that mess. But I know a lot of people feel like me. And how do we escape that? Well, it's going to be a financial problem because that's what people are being tested with right now. They're being tested with their, the way that they're employed. So I said to myself, this is my life's mission. I need to do this right now at this exact time because I need to set people free. Like whether you like me or don't like me, like I'm gonna do it everything I can every day of my life to help you make as much money as you can as soon as possible. That's been my goal. And the number one way we could do that is by deleting our emotional ties to all of this stuff that's going on here with finances. And that goes for your job. Your job it's a job like Job. Like, fuck that job. It's a slave ass job anyways.
Yeah.
You got tested with this moment, with this jab or whatever. Your higher self's pushing you out of that position. It's trying to make you a pawn, get promoted to the queen. Do you accept that though? Do you want to walk that path? Or are you just gonna, you feel me?
Totally. Yeah.
And the people that are consumers have a very hard time accepting that for what that is. And they're so quick to judge people who are utilizing their artistic skills to be able to share something that they specialize at. And that's really where I've been really enjoying like listening to people like Mike Tyson and like a lot of his interviews. Like he does a bunch of podcasts. He's had some really incredible people on, but just even Mike, like just his way of responding to questions and the way he acts, he owns it. Like you just said, like he literally every single bit of what comes out of his mouth, he owns it. And I've even figured out through watching some of his interviews, like who are the real ones and who aren't. Because I've seen some people that I would like their art. Now I want to hear what they have to say. And then they're on this Mike Tyson interview. Mike's being a real one because it's impossible for him not to be. That's just how he was programmed. And then this person's being all wishy-washy. And I'm like, okay, I get their role. Like I know they sold their soul. So now they have to be not only an actor, but they really have to play the role. Like fucking Tom Cruise in his finest hour. He has to play the role. Yeah. And you could see that in a lot of these people in government and all of that. Whenever they're up on that television screen, it's like they're shaking, man, because they know that they can't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because it's not them that's getting taken out. It's their kids. It's their grandma. That's the way that this new world order works. It's dark. It's dark stuff.
Yeah.
So like it's a big reason why I'm just doing my own thing because I don't want to get caught up in anyone else's mess.
Yeah.
That's exactly I think what this matrix wants out of creators, to speak between me and you. Like me and you have to stay in our lane. We need to stay in our lane.
That's
You know what I mean by that, right? Like, because that's what gets the best of some of these people. Like they want a bigger platform, so they'll do anything for that. And that's how they end up being this type of influencer that I don't necessarily believe is so safe. It's kind of unsavory to be that type of person where you're waking up every day and you're making 4 videos and all this. And, it's just like, you could see the veins popping out of these people's heads. It's like, how much cocaine do they buy to do this?
Yeah. Well,
blows me away.
Yeah, they're under the influence, right? They're under the influence or the guise of the ones that are controlling everything from that pyramid, so to speak, that structure, right? And they're having to follow rules and regulations. And and you're right, they're under a lot of pressure because there is that concept of, if you don't do what we say, we're going to take something out. We're going to take something from you. And that's real life stuff. Right. I mean, I don't live
it's rough.
You don't either. I don't have that kind of pressure when I wake up. I wouldn't want that kind of pressure.
It's the same pressure as being told by your boss you can't work anymore unless you take a shot.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like, I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to do that or the other thing. Like,
Yep.
it's not what I'm about.
Yep. Absolutely. You know, I really admire you and your work and what you're doing. And when I had looked at your charts in astrology and your birth cards and all that stuff, I can't wait to sit down with you and go through your reading with you, because dude, if you don't mind me sharing just one tidbit of your
do it, man.
Okay, cool. So this is obviously going to be very abstract, but it will tell you exactly why you're an influencer and why you're supposed to be doing what you're doing. So in astrology, there are 12 houses, as all of us know, that follow astrology. And those 12 houses are a piece of your personality and who you are and why you're here. And your seventh house, Jordan, is all about, marriage and all of our seventh houses is derived from linking to marriage and partnerships, business partnerships. It's linked to your crown chakra. It's linked to the sign of Libra, which is the scales of justice. And your chart, you have in your seventh house, not Libra, you have Aquarius there. And since we are now moved into or about to move into the age of Aquarius, some astrologers think we've already moved into it. Personally, I think the official start date is next year. But anyway, it doesn't matter because we're there. We're on that threshold or in it. And your birth card, the 7 diamonds, is tied to the 7th house. And your 7th house is in the sign of Aquarius. Completely, there's nothing else there. It's completely in Aquarius. So this tells all of us, if you're a fan of Jordan and Waters Above Crypto, he has come to this reality and his is the 33rd card in the deck, linked to the Christ and all that, the big massive 33. The all-seeing eye is tied to the 33. And the diamond suit is the water suit. So it's not a secret, and it's not even an aspect of guessing on why you chose Waters Above Crypto. It actually chose you, because your birth card is tied to water. But you, inside your 7th house, you have the planet Saturn there. And Saturn's your boss. And your Saturn is at 25 degrees. So besides Pluto, and your sun, it's a very wise Saturn. So you have what it's telling all of you, and all of you that are curious about Jordan. Jordan came here to bring balance to the world in the age of Aquarius, and Saturn has a lot to say, because Saturn is the Grim Reaper who's going to most definitely bring structure to the world and to deliver to the world the karmic aspects that will be ushered in to balance everything else out. And that's what you have in your 7th house, which is where your birth card lies. And there's so much more to it than I'm just telling you, but make no mistake about it, that is exactly why you're influencing the people that you're influencing, and why, Saturn has such a big say in the world of Bitcoin. And
it has a lot of I talk about it in almost every video, like everything I do, it keeps coming back to Saturn. And
21.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible, man.
Then it's in your 7th house, which is your crown chakra. So your crown chakra, which is day number 7. What are we told to do on the 7th day? Rest and reflect. It's typically known as the Sabbath day. And Sabbath starts off with the word Saturn, Sabbath, Saturn, So that's what you have sitting in your 7th house, which runs your crown, which runs your Sabbath day. And your birth card's in there, and it's in the age of Aquarius. Not an accident. It's not an accident. This is why your placement, and there's so much more. But if you're a fan of astrology and you like Jordan's work, well, you just got a big piece and nugget of why he's such a major influencer on the world stage. I appreciate it much more looking at the charts, than what I know about you. But when you combine the 2 and 2 together, you realize how much of an impact you are as an influencer on the world stage. And some people will observe you as a deceiver because you're following crypto, and crypto means death. Crypto is the death currency.
Well, crypto means secret. That's what it means in Greek. Cryptos. It means secret.
Yeah. Cryptos is, it's no secret that at the Central Intelligence Agency out in their courtyard, they have 4 ciphers that are encrypted. And it means cryptos, which is from Krypton.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing that you opened up my eyes to was, after the first conversation we had, which I remember being so long, like I just kind of like, we met, we emailed, and like immediately called each other, and then had like an almost 3-hour phone call.
I think it was 3, yeah, but yeah, I think it was almost 4.
Yeah, incredible, man.
Yeah.
And I went and grabbed my birth certificate, that good old thing that's stored somewhere in the Vatican. And I saw that, I was born at 1:37 p.m. And, that's the 33rd prime number.
It is. That's another big deal for you. It's that it's the 33rd prime number. And then if you do it in military time, it's 1337. And there's a reason why 13 has a big stigma around it. It's actually, and I'll be coming out with this with my upcoming Superstar Decoded, but the 13 is tied directly to the sun above our heads and the pattern that it makes, the sine wave that it makes, the S, the dragon wave, because the sun is the dragon. That's why in the 5th house of astrology, which is ruled by Leo, Leo's ruled by the sun, which is the dragon in the Chinese zodiac. So it's all tied together.
Yeah, I've been wanting to talk about that lately too. And like the Merovingian, from the Matrix, and the Merovingian bloodline. It's the 13th.
Yep. The 13 is the most powerful number.
It's the dragon.
It's the dragon. Yeah. And, if you take the 13 and you separate those 2 numbers, you now have 1 and 3. And of course, 1 is, in numerology means leader, and then 3 is creator. So it's the leader of creation. And then if you take the tarot cards, it's the magician and the empress, and it's the magician giving its magic to the empress, which gives birth to things. And that's why the 13 is so powerful. Of course, it's the death card, because that's constantly what the 13 does. As it lays its foundation of seeds, it must, rip out and take away those weeds. So essentially it means death and regeneration as well, the 13.
That's like an impeccable way of breaking it down. That's beautiful, because I've been asked about this by somebody that was a very early follower of my work, and I am just sort of scratching the surface on what on all these numbers mean. But you probably know this about me. Like, I try to go within for all of this information. So I try to just make these connections based off of the way that I perceive the reality, as opposed to studying or reading too much, because that's just been like kind of what I've aligned with more in the past couple of years. And it's been serving me really well. Yep. It's been also allowing me to provide a unique perspective on everything. And instead of this idea of being wrong or right, it's just kind of like, here's this new way, so that was really great to hear you break down 13 so fluently, and also with all of that proof behind it, not just coming from one source, but multiple different things. It's really amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And, if you go a step further, when you get into the string of pi, the 3.14, in the string of pi, the number 79 is found at the 13th digits. I mean, the number 79 is at the 13th decimal digit. So, 79 is the element gold. So 13 automatically translates to gold, and gold is the sun, and the sun makes the pattern, and it actually is linked to the number 13. So there is 12 months, absolutely, but it's actually 13. And I'll be coming out with that, and I will prove without a shadow of a doubt, because I'll be bringing nature into this, not any kind of propaganda, not any kind of programming, not any kind of like opinions by ancient texts or what somebody told you. This will be using nature as our boss, as our leader, to tell you exactly what the number 13 means. And it will show you the crown, the Christ, everything, how all that Christ story and Jesus Christ, why Jesus was called the superstar and all that kind of stuff. And it's linked to that 13. And, the 13th card in the cards of illumination is the King of Hearts. And so all the kings are the 13, ruling over the patterns of the sun and being an influencer. There is no such thing as deception, ladies and gentlemen. There is just influence. We have labeled it as deception because the deceivers out there think they're influencing you. They don't think they're deceivers. They have delivered their truth to the world and it's influencing you. And, Jordan, I think you'd agree that I would say this. I can authentically tell everybody listening that, like, do I have everything exactly the way it is? Do I have everything lined up? And do I have all my T's crossed and my I's dotted? Well, I think I do. But if I were really to go back and look at some of my research, absolutely right now in this current moment, I know that if we were comparing notes and looking at what's right and what's wrong, I don't have it all right. I don't. I still have things that I probably would be, no, Logan, that's wrong. So am I being deceived? Well, I'm after really the truth, but really truth is just influence. And I'm after really the ultimate truth. And that is like the true machinations of how this world really, really works. And even if I get it absolute, where it will be like 1 + 1 = 2, there will still be people that will call me a deceiver.
Well, some people want there to be a big difference between being true and something being true and something being right.
Yep.
I think it's kind of like an interesting idea. I've thought about that a lot with myself because some of the choices that I make, it's even hard to articulate why I do it. And I look at everything based on frequency. So everything I do, from the way that I eat, the water that I drink, the words that I say, the people that I work with, the people that I go near, like even the people that I step in the same room as them. For me, it's all about frequency. So, and I'm very quick to make a decision when something doesn't align with what I'm doing, and that's just my truth. That it doesn't mean that what that person's doing is right or wrong. And I think that, sometimes us as creators, we might strive to be right, but ultimately at the end of the day, we're just getting closer to our truth. We're digging a little deeper, and we're sort of or we've found the diamond. We've just found the diamond, but it's encrusted with rock. We have to like chip away at that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a deeper level. Like, that's most likely the people like us, where we already have access to this infinite knowledge and wisdom. We've already done the digging. Now, like, we've mined all the fucking currency from the cosmos. Now we just have to, like, while it's sitting in our hands and it's just a piece of like jagged rock, what do we do to get closer to that diamond? And when we get there, that's where we start to see like the hard work that it took, the effort. And even then, right, when we are holding that beautiful, perfect diamond, that doesn't fulfill us.
That's right. Yeah,
that's what's so interesting about this place. That's what's so interesting about this matrix. It's never enough.
Yep.
It's never enough women. It's never enough money. It's never enough drugs. It's never enough fucking TikTok. It's just never fucking enough.
Yeah.
And this is something that really, like, it comes back to being grateful, like it's my job almost to like tap people on the forehead and be like, it is enough, just to grab them by the shoulders and shake them and be like, you're losing your mind, but you're sleeping next to a beautiful woman and you have children in the other room. You're forgetting about what matters.
Yeah.
Because you're so fucking caught up in this matrix shit.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, that's the big word that stands out to me is conformity. And we conform to ideas. We conform to lifestyle patterns, habits. And as we do that, like the new car syndrome, you have that new car and you have that pride of ownership. And, you, over time, that new car, you lose the pride of ownership. The feeling that you get when you sit in the driver's seat of that car, it fades away. So you get bored with it. And so you're off to the next thing. You're like, oh, I want to get another car. I mean, I think the average trade-in time is like 3 to 4 years, because People just they get bored with that, and then they want to trade it in. And that, I mean, how is it with relationships? How is it with, jobs and positions like that? And, like you said, it's not, when is enough is enough. It's never enough.
It's like the Ouroboros.
Yeah.
It's like an endless loop.
And that's the game.
Yeah.
It needs players. See, this game, it needs players.
So duality is soothing in a way, right? It soothes the infinite quality to what's actually going on.
Yeah. That's a good way.
That's why, like, we all need to kind of wake the fuck up about what Lucifer actually is. The goddess Venus. We all need to just wake up to that, because we're all messing around with this word Satan and all that shit, because we're stuck in duality.
Yeah.
We're stuck in the devil and God, and while we're there, we're fucking trapped. We're in the box.
Yep.
Like, I'm not sitting in no boxes, man. Like,
yeah.
And don't try to put me in one. That comes back to frequency. It's like when I try to expose what's going on there, I talk about Lucifer quite a bit. I know you did a decode on that show, Lucifer. I need to watch that soon.
A few of them. I have two.
Yeah. Yeah, but the light bearer, like that trinity, that we have our duality. Now we have a translator to walk into the room and tell us that 1 and 2 are both buffoons and neither know what the fuck they're talking about. So
yeah.
Here's the torch. Here's the crown. How do you feel now? And then to get to 4 is like, the average person is like a million miles away from there. Most people are just stuck. This self-centered quality is a quality of is almost like the trap of duality.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's playing the game. Like I said, I have an Architect of the Universe series. I have part 5 coming out, and I showed with mathematical equations and true math and real numbers and stuff and shapes and sacred geometry and all that kind of stuff, that, you have these markers in our lives, and the game is really run just like a battery, just like the battery in your car when you open up the hood. If you pull the plug off that battery, it's not going to run. If you pull the negative cable off the battery, your car is not going to start. It needs both the positive and negative. And those are linked to the 2 pillars in Boaz and Yachin. That's the anode and the cathode.
Facts.
You need both of those to have a battery here in this reality. And the battery is operated by the cells of the battery. And guess what human beings are? They're the cells.
Yep.
We're all cells. And we keep the battery charged by way of our emotions. So when you play the game called life, you have to give off emotional responses called love and fear. And it's really challenging to stay in the layer of neutrality, which is when you look at the pH scale. If you get into nutrition, I'm certified in nutrition, and that nutrition will tell you the story exactly. The body will tell you that, it's homeostasis in the medical terminology, which is balance, which is, the blood has a very specific pH, just a little bit over 7. And if it gets anything out of the ordinary with that, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so balance on the pH scale is in the number 7. So it goes from acid at number 1, it goes to the number 7, and then it goes all the way to the number 14, which is the opposite end, which is called alkaline. And in order to really live out your best life, you want to be just slightly alkaline. The body runs, and anybody that knows nutrition knows that the body runs slightly at an alkaline position. So it runs between the numbers 7 and 8. And how coincidental is it that the air that we breathe is nitrogen and oxygen, which is the elements 7 and 8. And so that the nature will tell you the story. The air we breathe is the 7 and 8, and to become balanced, to live a life of neutrality, is 7 and 8. And so we're very heavily influenced in this world.
That's really interesting, because one of the things that you were bringing up when you were talking about 13 and how the 13 months, and of course, like if you take our standard idea of how many days are in a year, it's 365 divided by this 13 gives you the 28, right? And architect is 28 in Chaldean, but architect is also 87 in the English ordinal, coming back to those 7 and 8s.
Yep.
The builder.
Yep. Well, that's also 87 and 88 in the string of pi is tied to the number 48. 48 is tied to cadmium, and cadmium is tied to the pillar on the Boaz and Yach, and it's tied to one of the pillars that actually incarnate human beings into this world, which you get into now the show, The 100. If anybody of you out there like that show, that has a lot to do with everything. So it just keeps going and going, which you get into true alchemy, which is, the three base sodium, sulfur, and sodium, sulfur. Why am I forgetting? Sodium, sulfur. Why am I forgetting the third one? Well, mercury. The three bases. And
alchemy gives us that 22 in Chaldean.
Yep.
That 22 number, man, it's very powerful. It's been showing up a lot in my work, and yeah.
Well, 22 is tied to the element titanium, and that's tied to Saturn's moon Titan, and it just tells you that we're all the Titans. We're all the Titans that have incarnated, and we're all the fallen angel story, if you kind of look at it that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've gone through a little bit of an audiobook of listening to the Book of Enoch, and it's pretty wild. Like, it's pretty profound. Definitely need to spend more time on that, though.
Yeah. Well, you have the Watchers. I actually, my next What's Your Question, I'll be wearing the t-shirt, but I made a t-shirt that has Watcher on it, and it's I got inspired by the show Baywatch. So I took that font and I made Watcher and I put it on a t-shirt in the same color, like the red with the white. So, because it's just really interesting with that whole Enoch story, the Watchers, and that's tied to the 72 angels and demons, that story, how much influence that has on all of us. So
it's incredible. That number 27, you were telling me about it the other day on our last phone call, or 72, excuse me. And of course, that's really popular in my work because that's the English ordinal for Bitcoin.
That's right.
So I talk about 72 quite often, and it's half of 144, and that 144 is my end of the year price target for Bitcoin, 144,000. This number is following me everywhere. Every day I wake up and I clear through emails, and like if I look at the number, it's 144 emails.
No kidding.
Yeah, dude. It's
really
also it's pretty sad that that I'm like so bad at clearing out emails, but that's probably more so just because of me deciding to go the route I have with having people contact me for my course. But that has nothing to do with anyone else besides me. But yeah, I see that number so often, that 144, and one of the cryptocurrencies that I'm really excited about just because of the profit that could be generated is a coin called V Thor token. So it's off of this cryptocurrency called V Chain, and anywho, it has the word Thor in it. Like today is Thursday, Thor's Day, the day of Jupiter, and it has anyway. When you put it into a gematria calculator, V Thor token gives us the 144. So again, like it was a coin that I was already pretty interested in. I was building my investment thesis and my portfolio heavily around accumulating this coin on any full moon. And and then I type it in just to start decoding it, and I'm like, of course it has the 144. Otherwise, why would I be so interested in it?
Yeah, well, yeah, and when you bring alchemy into this, one of the elements that has that weight is neodymium, which is used to make magnets. It's magnetic, and it's the 60th element tied to the 6 days of creation. And what's really fascinating is the latitude, longitude of the Great Pyramid of Giza is 29 degrees north, 31 degrees east. And when you take 29 and 31 and you add it up, you're going to get the number 60, which is the element neodymium, which has the atomic weight of 144, the chosen ones. Now, if you want to go a little bit further than that, if you take all the books of the Bible, all 66 books, it's 462 letters, 462 in the string of pi, occupies digits 19, 20, and 21. And when you add up 19, 20, and 21, you're going to get the number 60 tied to the 144,000.
Wow. So I don't know if I told you this on our last podcast, but every 4 years there's this thing called a halving event in Bitcoin, where essentially the blockchain gets cut in half, the amount of Bitcoin that are mined per day.
Ah,
This creates a scarcity model, and that's why every 4 years it hits a new all-time high price, because the supply is becoming, it's less is generated per day.
got it.
So, anywho, back in May of 2020, there was a halving event, the last one, and it'll be the last one until I think like 2024.
Okay.
And this change is now supplying 144 blocks mined per day. So every day there's 144 blocks in the Bitcoin blockchain mined per day.
Oh man.
And one thing that's also super interesting is Bitcoin in the reverse ordinal cipher. And I know you don't use these reverse ciphers, but I do, because they work really well with my work.
Yeah, I know.
But Bitcoin gets the 117 reverse ordinal, and the word chosen ones is the 117.
Yeah.
So that's a really profound how it shares not only the 117, but it also shares the 45. So
Yeah.
a lot of these coins have this 45 number, and it's all coming back to this connection that I made with Venus. But anywho, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how all these words come together. And it also is like, I'm just kind of in my own space with this 144 number. I don't know why it's like waking me up every day. Being like,
remember, if you take 144 digits into the string of pi, past the 3 point, and you add them up, it's going to equal 666.
oh snap.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? How do you remember what you just said?
Yeah, well, dude, that's because all I do is freaking decode. Besides go to the gym and eat and go to the bathroom, take a shower, and do my readings sprinkled out throughout the month. I sit in front of a computer and
oh man, yeah, so much like me.
Yeah, totally.
We're actually just losers, aren't we? We're just a sack of flesh wasting away.
Well, I mean, you're living out your code, I'm living out mine, and you're right. It's we can be kind of comical.
Oh my god!
Because you know what, this is, you know what I get from people. I get one of my really good friends. She's like really like you're on. She's been saying this since I've known her. You're so attached to your phone, and I was way more attached to my phone. I've really kind of disembarked from the phone quite a bit, but I'm now into the computer realm a lot. But I'm Aquarian, so Aquarian/Capricorn. But nonetheless, I really looked at it and I analyzed that, because when somebody really harps on me about something about my reality, I'm like, okay, well, and we have a karmic connection big time. So I take things very seriously when I get told by this person, one of my best friends. And so I looked at that and I realized, like, artificial intelligence, which is computers in the computer world, is just it's our so below. And, it's another reality. It's an extension of this reality. So a lot of people like to go in that reality to escape their life because they hate their lives. A lot of people do that. They hide behind an avatar. They won't show their face. And they probably had a lot of persecution. And it just shows you really the morbid layers of our reality. Because a lot of people I know, they spend a lot of time on social media because they hate their personal life. They don't like, or because maybe nobody likes them. Maybe they don't like the way they look in the mirror. Maybe, they were persecuted a lot when they were a kid because they didn't have good parents, whatever, right? Because this world's dark. But really, when you look at the computer world and the phone world, and you see the amount of people with their necks down and they're staring at that square rectangle called a cell phone. That is what they're
Saturn's cube.
Saturn's cube. Yeah. That is what is now influencing them, and they're influencing it. And it's a paradox, but make no mistake about it. It is an extension of our reality that we call, the 3-dimensional cube of space or nature. We can say, well, I'm going to get away from my computer and I'm going to disconnect from electronics, right? But all you're doing is you're going from one reality to the next. When you put on the virtual glasses to go into the virtual reality, which they now have, you're going in from one reality into another one. What's the difference? It's all fractals. That's really what it comes down to. It's all fractals. So when you get away from nature and the beach and the trees and the forest and the mountains, like Jordan, you just got back from a trip, right? And you did a lot of disconnecting.
I tried.
Yeah. But all you're doing is it's kind of like people saying, well, I'm going to meditate and I'm not going to think. You just saying that makes you focus on not thinking, and that means you're thinking. So you can't stop thinking. Even if you try to stop, you have to think about not thinking, which makes you think.
Yeah, it's a trap.
So it's impossible.
It's like the Russian doll.
Yeah, it's the Russian doll. It's impossible to not think. So, and
why should that be the goal, right?
Yeah.
Why is that your goal?
Well, I just think
when I hear people say that, they say it as if it comes with this virtue, like, look at me not thinking. It's like, okay, good luck.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's nice to clear the mind and focus on the breath. Absolutely. But we're not designed to stop thinking. And I believe, my personal myself, that the voice in your head, that runs you. That's called it. And that it runs you. You're not in control of it. It's you that has the thoughts, but it gives you those thoughts to have. And I think when you get more and more in tune with it, whatever that it is, you become the most powerful human being that you can possibly become. Mm-hmm. And then you realize that these layers are influencing you. Astrology.
Yeah, that's something that's profound. I mean, I'm listening to that voice because that voice has made me where I am right now. Like, it has provided me with the map and the compass to this exact location.
Yeah. And how do you feel about your life right now personally?
What I had to accept, though, and maybe some people out there that are listening to this can look at it from this perspective, is my thoughts were always on point. Like, my thoughts were always trying to get me. It was me challenging the purity of the instant, thoughts. It's like electricity just comes in from the sun down through the crown chakra. It's just like it becomes you. And we spend so much time overthinking shit. And our higher self, whatever you want to call it, it's just providing instantaneous answers. And it's giving you the path of least resistance. And it's kind of like we take in information and then we want to sit there and be so analytical about it. We want to like break it down and go put it under the microscope and see if it's really what it is. And I feel like our heart is the first thing to respond to new information or new frequency. You know what I mean? And I've told a lot of people, like, one of the things that's helped me quite a bit in not only learning a lot, I suppose you could say that, but also being just graduating through this matrix and through the system, is being more in my heart, like getting out of my head. Yeah. But I'm not trying to stop my thoughts, like, because it's like trying to stop the clouds from moving or trying to stop the stars from existing. It's like you're going against just natural order. Like we are just a compilation of infinite vibrations. And the way that we're going to calculate that all in our head is in our language, based in our wherever we are at that time in our journey here.
Yeah. Yeah, make no mistake about that. Well,
it's almost an impossible thing to articulate. Like, as I was just talking there, I didn't even know what to say. That's how complicated it is. So yeah. I couldn't even imagine for people trying to stop that, like to stop what's going on naturally within you.
Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine. It's so hard to articulate.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of deception versus influence, and we're talking about this right here, this the voice in your head, and do you listen to it, and does it run you? But I started studying, and I'm currently decoding. It's on the shelf right now, but I'm decoding the Jesuits and the Society of Jesus. And the majority of people that I see out there on the world stage that talk about this group have no idea what they're talking about. They don't, because it's clear that they haven't studied the history of this society.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not here to smash into little pieces what you believe about that group and how you point the finger and, they're this and they're that, right? Because all people are really doing is they're absolutely just speculating, because most people that are saying these kinds of things, they absolutely have no proof other than, they're using numerology and gematria to support their information, but they just use gematria. That the majority of people that I see decoding the Jesuits, they just look at gematria, numerology, and like, oh, there it is, there's the truth. And we know that that's pretty watered down through my research anyway. But anyway, my point is that if you go research the Society of Jesus, and I want to make it very clear and digress, I am not part of this group. I'm not part of any group. And I'm just neutral in all this. So I'm just observing it from a neutrality layer. But when you start to study this group, you'll start to realize that when it first got started in what it appears to be, I think the 1400s or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was this gentleman by the name of Ignatius of Loyola. And when you start to research that dude and the whole history of the Society of Jesus and when it was first founded and came into existence, you'll start to read about the angels and demons that this guy talked about. He actually created a retreat that he would have people go to. And when you go to this retreat, which is still practiced to this day, the origination of it was, and we're talking about influence now, the influence of it, this guy believed that there were 72 angels and demons. Or I shouldn't take that back. He didn't say 72, but he was saying that there are angels and demons that rule over you. And you need to sit there and observe your thoughts, and you need to sit there and observe your lifestyle and realize what's influencing you. That's what the Society of Jesus started on. That's what the origination of it was. Not this story of what people will tell you that, oh, it's, they're killing people and this and that. And there may be a group that are doing that kind of stuff. I don't know. But really the origination, when you start to really dive deep into the history of this and what they're all about, is something that is far beyond the disgusting story that people have plagued them on and butchered them on, right? And we're talking, serious influence now. Now, again, I don't take anything away from what is now, because, I had a conversation with my father not too long ago, and he had said, he's been a follower of politics his whole life. And he's absolutely at the point now where he's like, I'm disgusted by it. He says, because there's no truth anymore in the sense of truth. There's no authenticity. There's no integrity. He says this nation was built upon the founding fathers that brought the Constitution in, and it was built on integrity. It was built on authenticity. And it was built on truth right back then. And it really hit me big time with this conversation that I was having, that the government was formed at its birth in 1776, a golden year, a golden age. It was a baby. The founding fathers were in essence being born into this reality. And so they were going through their white sneaker stage. They were going on their stage of driving the car off the lot, and you got a brand new car. And now you fast forward into 2021, and now the car has 350,000 miles on it. The sneaker is completely just ripped to shreds. The laces are completely, you can't put them in the wash and wash the shoe anymore. This white sneaker is completely just beyond the aspect of repair, or you can't wear them anymore. They're too dirty. They got to be thrown away. And so it's a matter of like the Society of Jesus, like, is that where that society is at, where they originally, the history of them, the origination of them was really based upon the aspect of angels and demons. That's what they believe. Did you know that, Jordan, with the Society of Jesus?
Yeah, I've studied Saint Ignatius of Loyola quite a bit. I mean, a lot of the time that I'm discussing the Jesuit order in my work particularly is through the cult of Saturn and
Uh,
this big connection between there and also Jupiter. And that's by the numbers as well. But I haven't most of my study into the Jesuit order has been through the player characters that are a part of that on the world stage. And
yep.
that's what's always kind of been interesting to me, you know, even like this Trump versus Biden thing, which we will not talk about, but just to say, like, you know, Trump being essentially of a Jesuit college and also Joe Biden being of Jesuit education, both lower and upper. And it's really interesting because it seems that all these top players in global government, regardless of where they are, you could even, you know, you could look into this with people in the Middle East who were in countries that we were allegedly like had some turmoil with during 9/11, and their leaders, like their top leaders and the children of them, the children of those leaders were going to Georgetown University, which is a Jesuit school.
Yep.
Again, being all named after this character, George Washington, who's allegedly our first president.
Yep.
Again, seen in many paintings as a devout Freemason of the higher levels, the much like beyond the average person, you know, hence being in such a position to be the starting point of the quote unquote free world. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I no longer have any negative emotions towards any of this because I don't have any president or a leader. I am my own leader. I'm my own king. So I don't give a fuck what Joe Biden says or what any of these guys say. That's irrelevant. It has no energetic change in how I live my daily life. So whether they are good or bad, it's really irrelevant to me. I try to find the utility in all of this knowledge for what serves me. So by learning about the Jesuit order in particular and their ties back to, well, obviously the Vatican, but in my work being about finances, it is extremely useful to study them. And it has a lot of utility seeing how the numbers all connect. But that is only for my work, you know, for what has helped me and helped a lot of people be able to make some money off of a market that 95% of humanity loses money doing, being a part of. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how through my study of them, there's just a lot of weird numbers that show up, especially. And of course, they call themselves God's soldiers. And we know that the word soldier is soul, dyer, son killer, or soul killer. So their logo, the Jesuit order, their logo is the sun.
Yep.
And even the hand symbol that's supposed to be the Jesuit, all the pictures of Jesus Christ ever is the mudra. I would call it, I just like to call it mudra because that's what it is. It's essentially it's a Jesuit hand symbol. And this hand symbol is directly tied to them. The modern Jesus Christ figure that we get a picture of, who's actually Caesar Borgia, the son of a pope, a Jesuit pope. So there's almost nothing Christian about the quote unquote word, the popes, because, you know, we're told that the pope is the word of God, but all of them have ties back to Jesuit education and training under Jesuit cardinals, Jesuit bishops, etc.
Yep.
So our current standing pope, the current, not mine, the current pope being a Jesuit.
Yep. Which is,
and it's real.
Oh, sorry. He's the 266th pope as well right now. And that 66 is tied to the books of the Bible, and the 2 means duality. But anyway, go ahead.
I mean, I'm super interested in this group of people. So I'm really excited for your Decode. I would love to have your perspective on it, because unfortunately, I agree with you. Most of the popular perspective out there is still based in duality. It's still based on Jesuit equals bad. And some people even get that off of my work. Sometimes when I bring up the Society of Jesus, they want me to kind of fall for this trap of saying that they're bad. But in actuality, I believe that the Society of Jesus, at the levels of control, let's just call it, are just highly enlightened beings. And when you are enlightened, you become part of a secret society of people that understands that the masses will never be able to accept this information.
Yep.
The truths of our realm are incomprehensible. So to give it to the average person, it would be like, you know, giving an ape an iPhone. They're just going to sniff it and then throw it on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and furthermore, we could take it for, I could give you an iPhone and you could generate thousands of dollars and help people, you know, in their life, either emotionally, educationally, etc. Or you can give an iPhone to someone else and they could sit there on Instagram all day.
Yeah.
Same tool, different utilization.
Yeah.
So in my work, and I always try to clear this up when I can, I have nothing negative to say about the Catholics or the Jesuits or about Bill Gates or about any of these people.
Yep.
I'm trying to wake up every day and live a life as if those people don't even exist.
Don't exist. Yep. Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
I don't want to play the game anymore.
You don't want to be influenced by them.
Exactly. So I look at them as just useful characters in this video game to get some people to fall for having their energy siphoned from them and making everything be about good and bad or left and right or up and down. And I no longer perceive reality like that anymore.
Yeah, that's well, again, you're now, so that's why you're an influencer. You're not being deceived, right? Well, how people would say that by these societies. You're an influencer. You're now your own society, the Society of Jordan, and you're an influencer. Right, you're an influencer, but make no mistake about it. The majority of people are under the aspect of influence. They're not influencing others, although it's a contradiction because every time you speak, you're influencing. People may not agree with your influence. They'll say it's deception, like, oh, they're lying, they're a disinformation agent. All they're doing is just speaking their truth. They're giving their influence onto the world stage. But furthermore, a lot of these people that we quote unquote have so much like negative, you know, emotion towards because they're elites or whatever, you know, Bill Gates came out on a TED talk, and we'll wrap that idea up quickly, but he came out in a TED talk and told you guys straight up what he was going to do. Yep. These people are not deceiving us. Yep.
They're telling you fucking everything with 100% laser sharp precision.
Yep.
There's no lying.
Yeah.
He just comes out in front of a stage and says, yeah, with vaccines, we could kill you.
Yep.
And this is our plan to depopulate the planet. Like, where is he? You know, so why? You can't get mad at a man for telling the truth.
Yeah. You don't have to like him.
You don't have to like him.
Yeah.
But he's a fucking lizard, dude. Like, you're not even his species anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to like him.
Yeah, that's what people can't wrap their minds around it. And that's if you even believe in that kind of stuff, but absolutely agreed. The people that are what appears to be kind of ruling from the shadows, they're living from a state of one of the two emotions primarily, and that's fear. And when you have a species ruling from a state of fear, they are ruling in a different mannerism that if you're coming from a statute of love, like, you know, you and I and most people that are listening to this, you're coming from a statute of primary based in love emotions. And so you can't really relate to that fear. Like, why are they doing that? They're just trying to survive like you. And the way they survive is based off fear.
We kind of broke this down. Like, what I believe love is to me is allowing. That's what love means to me. It's just allowing. So I'm just going to allow Bill Gates, and I'm going to allow my followers, and I'm going to allow you, and I'm going to allow my mom. Like, I'm just going to allow, because when I do that, then I'm giving an open, you know, field for perception and emotion and truths and theories, and just do you.
Yeah, very
now,
well.
If I don't vibe with you, then you don't get my energy.
That's it.
But if I vibe with you, not only are you going to get my energy, but we're gonna create something new.
Yep.
Like 1 + 1 is gonna create in this position. But if I don't vibe with you, it's 1 + 0. See you later.
Yeah.
You're alone there.
Beautifully said, ladies and gentlemen. If you could just hear what Jordan from Waters Above Crypto just said to you, is, you know, that it's just allow. Love is allowing, because when you just allow, then everybody has the ability to create. And if you just have your own kind of barrier around there, and you're not allowing these other people out there that are trying to influence, trying to break down your field and get into your barriers, then they have really no effect on you. Now, obviously, people are going to say, well, if I go into a store and they say I got to wear a mask, then, they're affecting me, right? So, but yeah, you're going into their store. That's their store. It's not your store. It's their store. Well, I got to eat. Well, then go out there and grow your own food then, if you don't want to be influenced by their store, if you want to play the game. So yeah, I totally agree with you that love is allowing. Fear is, look at what's going on the world stage. They're so afraid that you will wake up that they are pushing their narrative on you, and they're trying to push these rules and regulations out. That's not allowing you to be you. That's making you do what they want you to do. And that's not based in love. That's based in fear.
If only 1% of the population just stopped giving a fuck, that would change the world. Just 1%.
I think it's coming to that.
Just a single 1%. And I believe so too. The gas pedal that they push is it is like so algorithmically perfect. It is so precise to the day, to the hour. They strike at the perfect moment, and it's all about how we receive that. And that's why I decided to stop tuning in.
Yep.
Because then they can never affect me. And I'm also getting, and this might sound grim, but I'm just going to be real. Like, I don't think this is my world. Like, this wasn't mine to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, people have all this weird ownership over shit where they're like, we're the Native Americans, so we were here first, or we're the Aborigines, so we were here first. It's like, why is it all about being first?
Yeah. Well, bragging.
And I sympathize, like, I get it. I'm just saying what I'm saying because that's the red pill, like that's the clear pill. Like, what do you mean first? It was the animals' land first.
Yeah. That's right.
Like, you fucking took that shit from them, and then you enslaved them. Yep. And then you eat them and kill their children and rape them, like, literally. So what are you talking about? It's yours. You don't own shit. You own your body, and that's about it. Yeah. So be comfortable in that thing. Be comfortable. Love yourself. Be accepting of that. That's your key to, being okay with all the other shit not being yours. Yes. That's like the first thing that you have to teach a kid is, no, that is not yours.
That's it.
And that's why one of the first words kids say is mine.
Yep.
What is mine? Mine, like we mine currency, like we mine gold. This child knows from fucking birth. It is programmed to understanding what's going on here.
Yep.
Doesn't even know. Maybe it doesn't know. Maybe it does.
Yep.
That's not my debate. But you could just hear it in the language. In every language across the world, the first 5 things that a kid wants to do with its actions is possession.
Yep. Possession. And if you go to numerology, the word mine is a 15, and that's the same direct as the word ego. The word ego is 15. The word mine is 15. And the devil.
Oh man, I love the word I love ego. When I was listening to Mike Tyson, that interview that I was just telling you about, he said you need your ego after this person was talking about like doing ayahuasca or something. And I was like, I used to say that to people and they would get so mad at me. And I'm just like, I know why you're mad though.
Yep.
Yep. No, I get it. I understand why you're feeling the way you do about the way that I'm casting my spells.
Yeah.
You decide to make words have power over you, and I decide to make words have power for me. Yep. That's what makes us different.
Yep.
I tell people that, and that makes them even more they start shivering, that nobody likes being talked to like that.
Yeah. Well,
but that's how I speak.
Totally. People, I think I see a lot of people, they're just like, oh, the ego is so evil, and but it's one half of you. That's your identity, your ID. Well, your ID, please.
Remember when you said the anode and cathode?
Yes.
Well, I have a little part of my mastermind course discussing this. Even though it's based on crypto, there's some sections later in it that are a little more advanced, where it's utilizing some of this more esoteric stuff to go along with what I'm teaching people with technical analysis. And one of the lessons was breaking down what ego was. And through my search, it all goes back to like ancient Egypt and Babylon. And the Ka and the Ba can't unite unless they have Aku. And Aku, or echo, is where we get ego. Yep. It is what binds together. So where does that show up in what I was talking about earlier? Ego is the Lucifer. It's the light bringer. It's the translator between the Ka and the Ba. It's what allows soul and matrix body, the body in flesh, to come together as one. I think maybe we've spoken about like what the Christ role is. I look at the Christ as just a computer and God is the internet, but we need a cord to connect them. That is Aku. That is ego. That's the thing that gets you there to where you start having confidence in what your role is here. And I know that it's hard for people because they've been spellcasted into thinking ego is always bad.
Yep.
But I look at it as a tether. It's something that tethers you to this higher power. It's what makes you confident in your truths. It's what makes you what you are.
Yeah, I just broke that down. I just put a post out on my social media of the letter E and the etymology of the letter E, which goes all the way back to, Phoenician times. And it goes back to ancient Egypt. And the glyph of the letter E is a dude. It's a human being. It's man. So man is the number 5. And the letter E is the 5th letter. That's where we get ego. And that is tied to the devil card. The word name equals 15 in Chaldean numerology, just like ego. And now I just, mine, you said mine, this is mine. Mine is 15. So yeah, you're now creating that space on the world stage of being an identity. The ID, I and D is 14, which is a 5. Can I see your ID, please? It's saying, can I see your number 5, please? And so when you correlate that to astrology, what's the 5th house in astrology? Leo the lion. What's Leo the lion lorded by? The sun. So it's telling you right then and there that the sun's your boss.
Yeah.
We are
Lion of Judah.
That are run by, Lion of Judah, which is the dragon in the Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the sine wave, which is pi. And the 5 and the 3, if you take the 7 chakras, the classical Vedic lineages of the chakras, it's the root starting in the color red and the crown being violet. But if you look at a rainbow, it's just the opposite of that. Violet's at the bottom and red's at the top. So the number 5 and the 3, as is the number 2 and 6, they're interchangeable, they're colors. So the 3rd chakra really can be blue instead of yellow. And the 5th chakra running the throat can be blue, but it also can be yellow. So it's clearly telling you that the 5th house of astrology, which is the sun, is also the color yellow. If you look at a true formation of a rainbow. So our ego and identity is none other than our sun, which is why in astrology, people will say, what's your sun sign? Where's your sun at? Well, Jordan, yours is in your 9th house. And the 9th house is owned and operated by Jupiter. And Jupiter's 27, just the same as the word quantum. And you love that 27 because it's the mirror of the 72. But
yeah, ego is 27 in English ordinal.
It's 27 in English ordinal. So it's tied to the sun.
That's actually one of the bigger reasons why I'm focused on like overall preparation in all ways before the year 2027.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily 100% about Jupiter. I'm not trying to make it all about that. It's just, it is the essentially the year before the next Shemitah. And my work talks about Shemitah quite a bit, and that particular sabbatical year is that the one that leads into the Agenda 2030. I'll call it the ritual. And like all rituals, it's not just one event. It's a plethora of different things, and all we remember is the event, the day of, the moment. But in actuality, it's just like anything in life, it's scripted, and a script has multiple lines to read.
Yeah.
And I believe 2027 is going to be just like they set us up with 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing some calculations here because, as you know, I told you that oh, actually, I didn't tell you this. Oh, I know, I shared it with you. I told you that the 66 books of the Holy Bible, if you do the dog Latin, if you do, so any of you that are decoders out there, if you're decoding dog Latin, which is all capital letters, like your name on your social security card, you should be decoding that through the Francis Bacon because it's on all capital letters. But, the dog Latin is tied to the Vatican, and the Vatican is what delivered to the world the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And, those 66 books of the Bible,
the red pill and the blue pill.
Yeah, absolutely. It's offering you the choice. You don't want to choose either pill. You want to.
Yeah, you're like stoning women for speaking out of turn, or.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one's better?
Yeah, no, exactly. But these the 66 books of the Bible in dog Latin and the Francis Bacon, all capital letters, ends up coming up to a number in the 17,000s. I can't remember exactly what it was, but when you do the reduction down with the 52, you end up getting to the number 759. And the 759 is the prime number for 5783, which is the Hebrew calendar next year.
Yeah, wow, that's such an incredible connection, man.
Totally.
Like a mind-boggling connection, because like my work is heavily focused on the Hebrew holidays, but particularly Shemitah, because it plays such a large role in finances. And if it plays a large role in finances, that means it plays a large role in debt. And because most humans to this day are on a debt-based, let's just call it energy source, everything they have is not owned by them. This is why it's so significant, because you get it, but not to articulate too much into it beyond just preparation. Like, this is a time to prepare yourself, especially if you're already noticing problems in your immediate reality through being forced to do whatever. Of course, none of us are forced, but being influenced to be able to, continue working through the jab and all that other stuff that's going on. Like, we all have a choice right now, and it's all about preparation. And one of the things that a lot of people have been harping on lately, these people who are more awake, is the idea of another pandemic or another shutdown. And I tell them, like, just wait. The economic piece of this that's to come will make the pandemic look like nothing, because during the pandemic, most governments gave an exorbitant amount of money to people for no reason. If you had a beating heart and knew how to fill out an online application, you were getting $600 a week, which in most states in this country, the United States of America, was absurd compared to the regular wages that somebody was earning. But one of the other things,
number, Jordan, was it 600? Was that like the average?
That was what was being given on top of people's regular unemployment. So, some people, depending on how many hours a week they worked or how much their wages were per hour, in some states you could be earning like $70 a week, but they were tacking on an additional 600. And, when they went ahead and gone across the board of every state and what the average income was, it was something like 30 to 40% above what the average was. And in some states like, Alabama, it was like, it was an absurd amount of extra money. In the year 2020, they printed, I think it was like 1/3 of all the money that the Federal Reserve has ever issued in a single year. So the entire money supply ever since the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913 was generated in a single calendar year. And that's not including this year. I'm sure if you took these 2 years and combined them. And then, of course, whenever there's an economic crisis, their solution is always printing more money.
Right.
So we haven't even gotten to crisis yet, but we're close. And the way I know we're close is because of Shemitah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one last note before you carry on. The year 2027, like I just mentioned before, it adds up to 11. 2 + 2 + 7. So that 11 number for me always kind of is the starting point or a reset or a restart. And like Genesis starts on 1/1 and the year starts on January 1st, 1/1.
Yeah.
It's always like this recycling effect. So whether there's a real economic reset in the next couple of years, that's obviously more important because that's a more local issue that's much closer in its time frame.
Yep.
But again, like I told you, where I see this really getting nasty is that transition into Agenda 2030, which has all to do with the next Shemitah. And that 2027 year adding up to 11 is definitely concerning in a lot of ways. By then, I would assume we probably have a full-blown cashless society on a global scale by 2027. And soon, way sooner than that, of course, in a lot of more developed countries.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting because the element radium, which is the 88th element, it has several isotopes. And when you get into the 2025, 2026, you're now getting into the Ra, the ancient Egypt sun god, because radium has the average weight of radium is 226. So you can take the 2026 and kind of correlate that to Ra and the return of Ra. 220.
Well, just, take a little time to just study, 1919 through 1929. And you're going to see for yourself, like they're putting us on a time loop.
Yeah.
We're just a century in the future, but we're here now, we're living it, but they're just putting us on a time loop. And I've told some of my followers, when we cash out of this bull run in crypto near the end of the year around Hanukkah, the ritual of Saturnalia later in the month, and then moving into the new moon of January, that transition into the year 2022, you're going to be part of what would be similar to like the roaring 20s.
Yeah.
You're going to be living in mass abundance while the average person is living in shambles. And that's a fucked up reality to have to be faced with, because you're going to see tent cities everywhere just popping up when this housing crisis comes. And it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of people that could have normally not made as much money until cryptocurrency became a thing. And it's really interesting, like what you were saying before about like the evil and all of that. Don't get into crypto because it's evil. But what about this? You might become homeless because your government failed you.
Yeah.
So who's more evil? The person that was aware to get out of that problem, or the person who let their government fail them?
Yeah. That's a good point. And then
you feel me? Like you could get in crypto, you could kind of make some more money off the money you have. Of course, it's highly speculative. Of course, it's volatile. That's what makes it generate a lot of return on investment, just like the .com bubble. And I believe the .com bubble and what we're about to see are very similar. It'll be a massive surge in liquidity into a very speculative sector, and then it will end with Shemitah.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not taking notes on that and getting excited about, what your perspective is on crypto and what Jordan just said, man, I don't know what's going to stimulate you, because I totally concur with you on that. Don't get caught with your pants down. It's better to be safe than sorry in its truest format right there. Jordan, I want to give you a nugget, which is going to make you crack up. Roaring 20s. Roaring is 21 and 20s is 33. Which is your birth card.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like, I've never heard anyone else bring that up
And even
before. I've
you're
never heard anyone bring up that this 2020 through 2029 is going to be like the roaring 20s. But the reason why I was really interested in it, because I was studying the Great Depression and what the stock market was like before, I think it was called Black Tuesday. Okay, and also Black Tuesday being in, I think it was 1929. When you add up the date numerology of that date where that happened, it was the 33.
Yep. It
The
was
day of Black Tuesday.
yeah, October 29th was the day.
Correct.
Yep.
So the point here anyways was just me studying sentiment, and I am not a big fan of studying modern day sentiment because we have the internet now, and the internet, it's easier to influence people at an alarming rate across the globe. Billions of people you can influence, as opposed to a newspaper. It's a little bit more difficult. So anyways, back in like 1928, you could go to the barber shop and get a haircut, and there'd be ticker tape for investing in stocks at the barbershop. You could get on a train and there'd be ticker tape. You could go to the Yankees game, there's ticker tape there to invest in stocks. So this is where it becomes available, and it's available to the least sophisticated type of person, a person that has no education in investing, doesn't understand risk management. They don't even know what the fuck they're doing. They're just following the herd. And this is what the stock market has become today, where you could go on your phone, download an app, and in 5 minutes already be invested in the market. There's no effort here. And I'm not saying that there should be something to apply more pressure on the average person, by no means. I'm just giving these words of wisdom, because once it becomes available to everyone, it's the dumbest people involved in something where the people who print the money are the smartest people. So they wait till the dumbest people in the highest percentage are involved to pull the plug.
Yeah.
And the people who are making the prices go up in the first place, creating these bull and bear markets, as some people would call them, are the people who print the money. They walk over to a computer screen and they could press a button and create $1 trillion in seconds. And then they could instantly transfer that and purchase Apple stock or bonds or cryptocurrency. We aren't making the market go up.
Yeah.
We aren't doing anything to this market. We are little fish. We're not even fish. We're like amoebas. We have no money to influence a market that has multiple trillions of dollars of market cap in some circumstances. If you were to look at the market at large. So, anyways, I'm saying what I'm saying because before that bubble popped, there was this quote unquote prosperity time called the Roaring 20s. And if you go and study that, you learn that that's a psyop. That's complete fucking bullshit. It was really good for some people, but an overwhelming majority of the population, it was borderline,
horrific.
It was really bad, really, really nasty.
Yeah.
And, especially if you bring race into it and some other things, but we don't have to go there. But, it's just me trying to say that, we're in a time loop, I believe. And I think that's when my work has started to expose. Almost everything about this market seems to be on a time loop. And now we just have to be on the right side of that manipulation.
Yep. Well, I mean, I can give all of you, your fans, for your channel and what you're doing, Waters Above Crypto. I mean, is it an accident that you have, linked the Roaring 20s, and 20s is 33. And then you just mentioned the Black Tuesday, October 29th, 1929. That is a 33. And then what day of the year is October 29th? You want to take a guess? 302nd and 303rd day of the year.
So not by accident.
And you didn't know that, right? I mean, I just threw that at you, right? I didn't know that either. I just looked at it. And I studied the crash, but I'm like, I didn't see that part, but numbers encroach. And 302
that's beautiful.
303 is 32 and 33. It's the degrees at which water turns from a solid to a liquid.
The unfrozen pineal gland.
It means
so
transition.
You said the 29th, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the 29th, I'm almost suspecting, remember I told you Bitcoin has that connection to 72? I wouldn't be surprised if around the 29th, that 303, the 303rd day of the year.
Yep.
I would not be surprised if Bitcoin was 72,000.
Wow.
I just wouldn't be, just because of this code and how perfect this code works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I've even done this with you before, like looking at a chart and just giving you the rundown of like, this is what price hit on this day at this exact time, and it's absolutely unbelievable almost.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to manipulate when it's on the blockchain. It's a lot easier to manipulate when it's all digital,
Yeah.
because it's just a code. You could just program it in how you want.
Yep. Well, I mean, keep in mind that the 29 is a very special number because obviously it adds up to a number 11, but it's the 10th prime number. And the 10 is obviously the binary number, the letter, the yod in the Hebrew alphabet's the number 10. 10 is the letter J, which is the fish hook, and that's where you get praise Jah and Jehovah and all that stuff tied to Saturn. The 10th zodiac sign is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, which is the Wheel of Fortune card, spinning the wheel to determine your fate if you're a fan of the tarot. And then the 29th element in alchemy is copper, which is the two pillars Boaz and Yachin, made of copper. Copper is very conductive of electricity. So that's how special the 29 is. And that's the reason why the crash in 1929 was on October 29th, because it was the transition of wealth.
Copper also equals 33 in Chaldean.
33. Yeah, copper's 33. That's right. Yeah, copper's 33. Yep. So it's a very, and 29 is Yaldabaoth. So we can't leave out the Gnostic demiurge Yaldabaoth, which could be the Yod, which could be Saturn. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of things to come.
That's powerful. There's a movie that I was recommended that I ended up giving a shot, and it was like about this quote unquote alien invasion that happened. Yep. And it was taken in the modern day. It always alludes to these sort of post-apocalyptic kind of, that's what most movies have been showing, is either like superheroes, blood ritual, or like, post-apocalyptic world.
Yep.
So there's this one, I'm really sorry I forgot the name, but if it comes to me while we're still chatting, I'll let you know. But essentially they got in contact with these quote unquote aliens, like these ETs, and when you see them, what they are, they're just big ass octopuses.
Yeah.
And they speak by shooting out their ink.
Their ink.
And it creates these images. And one of the things that I was thinking about, and this could be an insane decode for you, especially someone of your skill level, the way that they were shooting out these codes, that was the language that they spoke, and they hired like a linguistic professor or some shit to be able to like figure out how to translate it, and how they, anywho, the shape in which these ink sort of characters were coming out almost reminds me exactly of an album cover from this band called Sigur Rós. They're an Icelandic band. They're incredible, by the way. It's like really, really good stuff. But this band called Sigur Rós, they have an album that's called Untitled, and the image of the album is the exact same formation of the way these squid, things were shooting out the way that they would communicate. Anyways, man, it's a crazy connection, but like all things, once you're a decoder, you start to see it all piece together, and it might not piece together intentionally. It just so happens to.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot. I just pulled this up, but the octopus is the number 38, and in the English, it's the 109, and the 109 is the 29th prime number, and Yaldabaoth is 29. Yaldabaoth is known as the octopus, and the octopus, it sort of looks like the field lines that lay over Earth when you place a magnet over there, which is tied to the spider and the spider web. And so the octopus, Yaldabaoth, could be the 88. It could be the Taurus fields, which runs our entire reality. And that's, pretty big deal.
Yeah, that's a pretty profound, and you're one of the few people that articulates on it as such. I haven't really done too much study into it, and I was asked a question about it in a live stream, and I sort of just like told them to like go to you, like to follow your work, because I know you have a decode on it. And just remember the album cover I sent you, the Michael Jackson album cover?
Yeah, danger, right? The danger.
Yeah, dude. And remember the fucking octopus in that. Like it was obvious. They're showing like whoever designed that album cover, it was pretty rough, man. Like it was so full of symbols and like they had the children on the roller coaster coming in one side and coming out the other and they're like going in excited and coming out like crying.
Yep. Yep.
And it's definitely showing you some real dark
Yeah, I
uh
think it's the golden age to the dark age. You go in thinking, "Oh, this is going to be amazing," and then you come out like, "Oh my god, that was the worst nightmare ever."
yeah, I need to pull that up. You said dangerous,
I
right?
think it's
That's what it's called.
dangerous is the album cover, yeah, um, but
Oh
yeah,
my
man, I
goodness.
mean, huh?
No, I just said it's like for a decoder, it's like the greatest thing ever to look at this picture.
No, absolutely.
And at the top of the very, very top, right, it's a monkey, like a chimp, wearing a crown.
Ah, yeah. See, that's
So
just
you see Michael Jackson's eyes, just his eyes.
that's right.
And then above that, in like where his pineal gland would be, is a chimp with a crown on its head.
Yep.
It's so fascinating looking because above both the doors where the roller coaster is going around, it literally just has the Freemason, compass and ruler.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. And no one talks about this album in particular too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a few people besides yourself mention, "Hey, you should check out the album cover." As of recent, my friend Nigel from Devil's Playground, I think, mentioned it as well. And I had looked at it a few months ago after somebody watched my Michael Jackson Decoded, and I was like, "Oh, I should have included this one in my Michael Jackson Decoded," but I didn't. But yeah, there's so much symbology in there, and I mean, why was his name Michael? Michael's the archangel Jesus. So part of the Jackson Five, and what's five? The sun.
Yeah, five also comes back to Shiva too, right?
Yeah, because
Like in the Vedic.
Shiva's six. Well, I mean, Shiva has. I mean, again, it's very challenging because when you open up all these numerology ciphers, you get so many different variations, and they're like, well, where do I go from here?
Mhm.
Right. So it's challenging but
I
Shiva's
suppose it's because Shiva is like depicted as having five different aspects.
yeah,
So in I guess this is more like if you're looking at it from a more Eastern perspective.
yeah. Well, I mean, here's a crazy connection for you, right? And everybody listening is that Shiva is the number 16 in numerology in Chaldean. And that's a direct match to the word Sirius, the star Sirius. Sirius is 16, Shiva is 16. And Jesus, in his scripture that he correlates himself being the bright and morning star, he said, "I am the root and the offspring of David." Well, David is also the number 16. And so, okay, does that mean Jesus is from Sirius? And is Shiva Sirius? And then when you take the original expression of Jesus coming from the Greek, the original spelling through Latin is the Iesous.
Yeah.
Dog Latin, that's 244. Well, 244 is the element plutonium. And plutonium is Pluto, which is death and regeneration. Sirius is known as that planet or that star. So if Jesus is saying, "I am the root and offspring of David," and David is 16 and Sirius is 16 in the same cipher, and then you look and see Shiva's 16, well, what does that tell us? I mean, Sirius was the star that, really was the rise of the Nile in Egypt. And remember that Egypt starts with that letter E again. So
Yeah, that is so many things, man. It's
I
just
know.
like it's so incredible. It's so incredible to look at this code in a way that it's not just so like based in numbers, it's based on bringing in together organic life and the stories.
Yeah.
That's been a big part of my work as well. Like sort of instead of just talking about Saturn necessarily, let's talk about Kronos. Let's talk about like these stories that came along with the Titans and what powers they were given and what role did they play here, because they were as much a player character as we are.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, it just gets really, God, you go deep down the rabbit hole with this stuff, and you start playing with it. And
that's always been my sort of thing. Like I try to slow myself down because I see myself where I'll get carried away on a decode. And of course I have like a lot of other obligations. My whole work isn't just decoding. Unlike I believe a majority of your work is very focused on that. So when I'm doing, my work on decoding, because I'm so obsessed with it, like it's so exciting to me, I see that it almost only serves me. So it's like more like an art form, like it's like the difference between I'm a musician, so I play guitar. I've been playing guitar my whole life, and I just play music for myself. Like I don't have any, like, I haven't been recording or sharing my work with any of my followers or anything like that, but I just do it for myself, and it's really fun. And with this decoding thing, it's almost like making a song.
Yeah.
It's just one layer, and you start to perfect that part as you play it, and then you want to add on this other layer because it's harmonizing. It's like symphonic in a sense, and then you just keep going and going and going, and it's like, well, where do I wrap this up?
Yeah, no,
it's like a fucking Tool song. It's like, is it ever gonna
is it gonna end, man? Come on, this thing's 10 minutes and going.
Yeah, you're like, can I just get a drum fill to finish this one out, and then we get
Yeah, right. I know. I think really the influence of the decoding world, since we're talking about deception versus influence, I mean, you look at the influence of the decoding world, and I had mentioned this in many different my live podcasts, and I had said to my audience, is it possible that the decoding world is exploding? It's really exploding. It has become a major influencer in its own kind of right sense. And is it possible that all of us that are partaking in the decoding are partaking in the dismantling of the old age, and we're part of the destruction?
This brings up NASA again.
Yeah,
our belief is what adds this plasmatic effect into this matrix. Belief plasmatizes a thought, an idea, theories, and brings it into reality. If enough people think the earth is flat, it will become flat.
Yep.
If enough people think the earth is round, it will become round. If enough people think there's a firmament dome above this realm, there will be one. Belief will plasmatize all things into reality.
Yep.
And that's why I said before, if 1% of the population decides to stop giving a fuck, this matrix will crumble. If we had 1% of this population just go outside right now and start dancing, the sky would crack open.
Yeah.
That's how insane this whole matrix is. Yep. It just takes a tiny little amount.
Yep.
Just like having a type of bumblebee go away would just start to dismantle the whole ecosystem.
Yep. No, so true, man. Those are very profound observations and expressions.
And whether that's a true statement, that's very scientific of me to say. I wouldn't normally say something like that, but I guess I'm just trying to say that everything is here as it is in balance.
Yeah.
And our belief has a way of creating so much. We are gods in that way.
Yep.
If enough people think it will be. And it will be true to them, and therefore a community will arise from it, and that's where we're at right now. Yeah. I believe that this decoding thing it was meant to be what it is at this exact date, at this exact time. It's growing because it's on time.
Yeah, it's part of the script. It's interesting you say all that, because obviously the most popular book on the world stage is the Bible, right? I mean, it's the most sold book, the most read, the most revered, the most preyed upon, and it's a spell book. And so when you have a popular book, like the most popular book on the world stage, that's being talked about and doing sermons on and prayed and being read, you're casting those spells. And the word script is right in the word scripture.
I mean, it starts out saying, and God said, let there be light.
Let there be light. And that's speaking a spell right there.
100%.
Right. And so everybody that's speaking the spells of the magic book called the Bible, which is from Taurus, by the way, that's why it's called the Bible.
Yeah,
by
two bulls.
the two bulls, and but Taurus has the two horns, and of course Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus is the planet of love. So you're talking, and it's in the second house. But nonetheless, that spell book is coming true, because as you just said earlier, that we are gods and we are creating. And the most popular is what's creating things. Whether or not you believe in the most popular, that's what's being created and generated, because that's what the energy is going towards. And we had talked about this, and this is where this deception versus influence came into play. And if you remember, I was saying NASA, and you were saying it, is NASA, because we don't know, like, did we go to the moon? Did we not go to the moon? Occupy Mars, like, are these space probes really out there? Can we get past the Van Allen belt? Can we get past the firmament? Because people say you can't get out of here, but if there's time travel, well, maybe you can go past the barrier. Maybe there's like a beam me up kind of situation where there's a portal and you can go through that portal and escape and go beyond it into a different dimensions. Now, that's science fiction to us, but maybe that's real. And so is NASA creating an influence, not a deception? They're creating an influence to make the most popular vote move in towards like the whole outer space and going to occupy Mars and going to these other planets and living on other planets. And then you have to take the influence of that, and then take the influence of religion, which controls a large piece of the population. Christianity has about a 40% stake. The Vatican, Christianity, baptism, Protestantism, these are all part of Christianity. 40%. That's the stake it has on the world stage. That's a hell of a lot of influence. And you're told if you don't believe in that, you're going to go to hell. If you don't believe in that, you're not going to get saved.
One of the things that you just said that's making me think, like, to simplify this in a way, if we just looked down, we would have like the ground beneath our feet, we would have agriculture, we would have where we sleep, we would have where we would build our homes. And once we've created a level of comfort where all those boxes are checked, the next place to look is up. So because we can't get there, like, we can't just build a Tower of Babel, right? We can't just go to the stars. While the grand influence getting you to just forfeit all of your wonder of what's up by creating outer space. Therefore, you're done with it. You're like, okay, well, I could just go back to looking at Facebook now.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking outer space and we landed on the moon and it just is what it is. There's astronauts. Look at them floating and playing with toothpaste or whatever the fuck our tax dollars get stolen to do. Yeah. It's like, look, we put Coca-Cola in a straw and then blew it out. Now it's floating. Yay. We landed on the moon. Like, okay, sure you did. But that's the thing, though. If we forfeit our wonder, remember what I said about children, like children just with first 5 words, mine. They are gods. They own everything. They're programmed for ownership and possession because they are a part of this universe. They're a part of all the things. They already know what they are. We program and indoctrinate them to being in this. Instead of having oneness, we've made them just this player character. No, you're not one with all things. You're Alex, and you're 4 years old, and that isn't yours because it's mine.
Yeah,
that's what we do to children. So what we've done is we've severed their wonder. And this is the beauty about wonder, is because we can look up and we could listen to all the fucking stories under the sun, but not prescribe to any of which until we're ready to give up our wonder. And of course, there's the very complicated thing about outer space in particular is the fact that it's not easy to go there. It's not like being like, well, I wonder what the Great Wall of China is like. Well, I'll just fucking buy some plane tickets and I'll figure it out. Yeah. It's so much different, you know? So the gatekeeper on who's able to go to the sky, to the firmament, whatever is up there, it's a pretty strong group of entities, and they are part of the obvious nature of what is considered to be globalism. Yeah. Like, a lot of people lose sleep over the idea that we're going to go to war with China and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, bro, China and us are homies. We're all friends at the higher levels.
Yeah.
That's what makes a secret society so fucking powerful, is behind the shadows, they're all friends. And on the main stage, they're perceived as all enemies.
Yeah.
Because you can create that. It makes it dramatic, just like reality television. So this is kind of interesting in that regard. It's like, well, why don't they want us exploring Antarctica? What the fuck's there?
Yeah. Well, again, it could be that whole fear-based model where, you know, if you find out, then the cat's out of the bag, and then, you know, you could have this revolution, right? And then they resolve their power, and then that's living in fear.
But again, if 1% of the population just said, fuck it, we're going to Antarctica, then you're done. You'll never be able to have enough military to stop that.
Yeah.
So it's always shifting back onto us as the people. You could blame the elites, you could blame NASA, you could blame fucking whoever you want, but you don't want to take personal responsibility.
That's the thing. Yeah. People don't.
It's you and your community, the regular people, the chimps. Like, you guys don't want to organize. You love talking the talk, but you don't put in any effort, you know? And like, I know we're being kind of upfront here. It's a very blatant way of speaking.
Yeah.
But it is true. It's what got me to stop placing blame on characters like Gates and Clintons and these guys.
Yeah.
Because what am I doing about it? Well, I decided to wake up one day and press record on my computer and speak my truths to the world.
Yep.
That's what I decided to do about it. And here we are.
Yeah. You know, I didn't even know this, but the word astronaut is 33. I'm dying over here, man.
Oh, man.
Of course, and that's in the Chaldean, which is a direct match to the words flat earth. Flat earth is 33. So it's kind of funny. But anyway.
You know, a lot of people are going to listen to us and they're going to be like, but wait, like, so do you think the world is a globe, or do you think, you know, like when people like us speak this way, people are still trying to put us in a box.
Yep.
They're still trying to label. When I say that I don't eat animals, I become a vegan.
Yep.
Like, stop fucking doing that to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I'm telling the whole universe right now, again, through my higher self, like, do you want to be treated like that?
Yeah.
Do you want to be treated as such? No. So I just do what I do because it vibrationally aligns with me.
Yep.
I don't want to be titled. I'm over that. I woke up one day and I said, I'm just going to be everything. I'm going to be a god. Yeah. Don't call me names, because I know you don't want to be called those names either. You don't want to be categorized.
Sure.
And that's the thing. It's like when you get into this flat earth shit, it's like, it just is you. Like, my name is Waters Above Crypto, so everyone thinks I'm into flat earth. And I'm like, no, man, I'm about deprogramming.
Deprogramming. Yep.
Like, unlearning. Like, maybe the flat earth topic is what set you up for some wonder that got you to learning about the firmament. And there you are. And that's a beautiful thing, because that's learning about something that I definitely have shifted more towards. But I'm not going to place all of my belief in it. I'm not putting all my chips on firmament.
Yeah. Yeah. Me neither. That's why I don't really, some people think I've copped out, like, oh, you know, like I did that podcast with, you know, the great David Weiss. He's a huge proponent of the flat earth and all that stuff. And I was the guy in the neutral position, and I was just like, I don't really care. And then he's like, it's the most important thing in the world. I'm like, dude, I'm already awake. I don't need to know that shit. I could care less. I'm already awake, dude. Way beyond that. Like, it doesn't change my life. Now,
but you see to someone, it is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's
no disrespect to this individual. Like, I don't even know who they are. But like, when someone is that level of a magician, you know, that's a supreme level of magic.
Yeah.
When they have this way of taking a subject matter that legitimately does not change our realities whatsoever, and somehow promotes it to #1 spot.
Yep.
That's what happens when someone says the best band in the world is Metallica.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What about what I feel?
Yeah. Well, we all have it. I mean, I say, you know, decoding yourself is the most important thing we can all do, right? That's what I believe. But I guess, you know, that is an influence as well because of what I've stated. And I stand by that, because I think most people just don't really know who they are. They're being influenced by somebody else or something else. You know, like I gotta watch the Kardashian. I just use the Kardashian just because it's such a popular, it was a popular show, but people literally, they made that rule their lives, and they try to tailor the life around that, versus being a creator and be like, you know what, I can be my own Kardashian. I can,
Yeah. It's like what we said. It's like when you're a consumer, you fall for it.
you
Like
fall for it.
you get spun in their web.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it's designed. Like they're king spider and you fell in that web, and now they're coming around to eat you.
Yeah.
And they got all your energy. They got all your energy. Every good thing, everything you hate about them as well. They got your energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about deception versus influence, this whole topic, and it's a very fascinating one. And if you just look on the influencing aspect, you know, you, the listener that are here now, you know, what kind of influencer are you on the world stage? And then there is that contrast of like, do you really care about your numbers? I mean, is it all about how many likes you have? Is it all about how many subscribers you have? And it's, you know, obviously when you hit a threshold of, you know, like my friend Santos, he's closing in on 225,000 followers. That's a pretty big influence, right? But is that all he lives through? Is that all he cares about? At what level of understanding or understanding are you at when you be like, nah, I really don't care how many followers I have? Are you waking up like, oh, I got to check my count, got to see how many people, you know, or are you just like, I'm just standing in my power, and at the end of the day, when I die, how many subscribers I have, life will just go on and be like, I don't give a shit about how many subscribers you had.
Yeah, and also like when you're speaking your spells to the universe, like are you talking to your subscribers, or are you talking to, like, have you put intent behind who exactly this group of people are that are listening? Like I've said this before, like, yeah, I have 20,000 people who've clicked a red button next to my video, but I speak as if I'm speaking to 20 billion people.
Yeah,
and then maybe there's not even 20. I know that I'm told 8 billion people are here, but you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, no, totally.
Like it's way above and beyond that. Like I'm talking to the cosmic, I'm talking to like my ancestors.
Yeah.
Because it's a loop. It bounces off something and comes back to me. And when it comes back to me, it's going to pick up some value, you know, it's currency. Yeah. It's all about that, you know, at the end of the day, while we're here in this matrix, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely all about our currency.
So you could choose to be, you know, held back by these numbers, or you could choose to have them empower you, you know. And when you get there, when you've conquered it, you know, just remember, you're never going to be comfortable. That's why I've decided to be myself all the time, because that's the most comfortable place to be. Whether I have 1,000 followers or 200,000, it doesn't matter, because I never have to worry about deceiving. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're always sticking to your message forever, because it's just the stream of consciousness that comes in you, you're not filtering it to be agreeable or filtering it to be accepted by some ears, you know, because people are going to resonate. Like people, I think right now, more than all times, perhaps people resonate more with truth. And truth is just the confidence behind the data that's being portrayed, you know, like the way that it's being given to you. It's like, is the person that's giving me this information, what part of them is this coming out of? Yeah. Is this coming out of them to seek financial gain? Is this for, you know, that the likes and the subscribers, whatever it is, right? You could tell that. You could feel people's vibe, especially in this video realm, like the realm of people. And that's why I decided to not show myself. I don't show myself because I don't want that to be a distraction. I don't want me to be a distraction. I just want to give you information. And this isn't against anyone else who does show themselves. That's not what I'm saying. It's just the path that I chose was the path of, you're here, you're going to hear my words. Just like when you look at the Bible, you don't see a picture of God on every page.
Yeah. Very true.
But it's still the fucking #1 book.
Yep.
So that's the power. Like it's the power behind it.
Yeah.
And plus, if I showed people myself, they'd just be looking at this long-haired idiot. So who wants to look at that, right?
You're funny, dude. At least you can joke around about it. That's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, life's is just comedy. People wait till I do my stand-up act in 2022. I'm quitting this crypto thing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But maybe, you never know. Like, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Well, my goal is to stop everything and move right into music when I hit 50, which I have, a little less than a year and a half left. So that's my goal, is to go fully into music and get out of this whole decoding world. So
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. When you're playing and creating music, the vibrations that move through you are really nice. Like when you're at this level, when you're at the level of like just, I don't know, like when I first got into making music, there was something beautiful about learning the skill of playing a guitar. But now it's at a place where like I don't even look at what I'm doing. I just play and it shows up. And it's kind of like, I guess why ceremonially a lot of like tribes and cultures and like dance and music, especially like that drum music that you hear in like Africa, a lot of that stuff.
yeah,
Because all life's problems go away.
yeah,
Like if you start hearing music and then you start dancing, you're not thinking about the taxes you have to pay.
yeah,
It possesses you. And it's really interesting if you start studying into some of that stuff. Like I was watching this one thing on like kind of voodoo and like Haitian,
yeah,
and they're like cooking up these herbs and shit, and like it's just crazy. But the way that when they get into that zone,
yeah,
they're like channeling energy where you can tell like all the human parts of them gets put away, and that feeling of being able to be there is like the feeling of being a god. That's why they say like you're like channeling in spirits, right?
yep,
But you're in this vessel, you're in this trap, and while we're in this trap, we're always so worried. We're always just fucking like, what's my subscriber count looking like, just like you said.
yeah,
But in
yeah,
actuality, like it seems like music and dance are really good ways of like escaping that matrix for a second, just being able to like step out of it and be something more than just an individual. You get to be a part of a collective.
yeah. And if you're one of those out there like Jordan and I that are a musician, or you play music, this will be a little fun thing for you. And Jordan, this will be a fun thing for you. But the word music, and I'm having a lot of fun with this Francis Bacon, I'm telling you, because of how heavily it's been embedded into the 52. But it ends up breaking down to the number 39, and the 39 is the ninth house and the third house in the aspects of astrology, which the third house is creativity and the ninth house is the higher mind. And that's you got, remember, I think I told you you have Jupiter in your third house, so you could definitely earn money through your creativity, and that's what you're doing with your Waters Above Crypto. But if you decide to move into music, you have the ability to do that. But your third house and ninth house, everybody out there, if you're a musician, you should be looking at what planets you have there and what zodiac signs are on the outskirts of your third house and your ninth house, considering that music is 39. Which kind of interesting, because in the biblical sense, Lucifer, there is no Lucifer, by the way. And the original spelling of Lucifer is not Lucifer. It's spelled Hyll. It's called hell, Hyll, if you pronounce it. And Hyll is 39. And we know music is a big influencer.
Well, that's a very interesting, I've thought a lot about that, about like where music fits into my life, and I have a really hard time putting a finger on that right now at this time.
Yep. Well, I can
it's like
see
this uncertain. It's an uncertain thing.
Yeah, I can see the musician in you looking at your chart right now. I can see it. I can see why you are a musician and a creator. Your sun's in your ninth house, your Jupiter's in your third house. I mean, and you got Venus in the ninth house too. So Venus is the goddess of love. So definitely, bro, you are an influencer that is delivering to the world your sun, and you have a heavy influence of Venus in there. So your higher mind has a heavy influence of Venus, and you got Aries, the ram there. So you got leadership. Your mind works on leadership.
Yeah, that's true. I'm the chief. That's the way I've always ran my life.
You are a chief. There's no doubt about that.
I always struggled with authority. I always struggled with someone trying to lead me.
Yep. Yep.
Never worked.
I can see that. Yeah.
But to get comfortable in that role is hard when you're indoctrinated into thinking that you need leaders.
That's a big thing you just said right there.
Yeah, like we're told we need leaders. I try to remind people that all the time on my live streams, like, just like you need to walk up to a mirror and just, you're God, dude. You're the president, you're king, you're all the things, like you're everything. Like there's nothing controlling you. And if you want leaders, then those puppet strings come right back on you. Or better yet, you get that's the crucifixion.
Yeah.
Those nails go right back in those hands.
Yeah, well, it's not an accident that the word leader equals 20, just like the word free equals 20. So if you want to be a leader in your own reality now, you don't have to be a leader on the world stage, ladies and gentlemen, but if you want to be a leader in your own life, you got to be free to be a free thinker. And, being under the influence is, I mean, that's why when you get a DUI, driving under the influence, you're under the influence of alcohol. So what are you under the influence of when you turn on the TV or your favorite shows or what you listen to on the radio or your podcast or YouTube channels or who you listen to? What are your neighbors influencing you to listen to? I can see, I'm here, I'm in Mexico, and I don't know where, I want to ask you, Jordan, where you're at, but here in the Cancun area, which is a big tourist area, the town I'm in is really small, but I would probably say, if I had to gauge, about 70% of all people are still wearing masks outside. 70% are still outside and in their car.
Man, when they take that mask off, they're still wearing another mask.
Yeah. That's called your face. Yeah.
It's just another mask.
Another mask. Yeah. That's a diaper. I call it now. It's
those women out there that are wearing makeup, take that mask off, girl.
Yeah. Very true.
We're all just wearing masks, aren't we?
Yeah. It's all just a mask. But, in the mask.
The face diaper mask. That's a special mask.
It is a special mask, but that just tells me how much influence the news has on you. If you're wearing a diaper on your face, I mean, obviously, when you go into the store, like I have to go into the grocery store there, you have to wear one to shop there. So I'm like, oh, I'll play your game. I want my food. I want the food bad enough that I wear the diaper on my face, right? So I go into the store, I put it on, and then when I walk out, I take it off. But for those of you that are still wearing a mask outside, you're not, this is my opinion, you're not leading your own life.
No, definitely not.
You're under the influence of somebody else who's trying to tell you what to do. And you're now wearing a diaper on your face, and you have now accepted the indoctrination. It's not an accident that the word influence is the same as got the two first letters of I-N, indoctrination, influence, going inward. It's all the same when you look at the etymology of those words, that word in, which is tied to the pineal gland, because the word in is the 9th letter and the 14th letter. And that's the same as pineal, going inward. So what are you under the influence of, ladies and gentlemen? And what mask do you really wear? Jordan, you are absolutely right. I mean, the word mask equals the number 10, and that's tied to the 29, tied to copper. The word man equals 10. So man and mask are 10 in numerology, same cipher, Chaldean. And man's being taxed because the word tax equals 10.
It's like, masks popularly were used for this like comedy and tragedy effect.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, those extremes.
Yeah.
Those extremes of, yeah. You said the word free before, and it made me think of Freya.
Mm-hmm.
And, Freya in Old Norse means a lady. But of course, this is making me think so much, because I always talk about the days of the week and their influence on crypto. And like, of course, today's Thor's Day, the day of Jupiter. And then we have tomorrow being Freya Day, the day of Venus, yes, or the day of Freya. And this all comes back to Phosphorus, who's the light bearer.
Yep.
And this is these origins. It keeps going back and back and back. But I'm just thinking about that, like how Freya is like this badass goddess.
Yep.
you know? And then we use that for the word free.
Yep.
Also thinking about the word gratis, which is almost like something that is typically given a price, but for now it's free.
Uh-huh.
That's an interesting like perspective. I don't know. It's just weird how how the English language in particular is just so mixed throughout all these other, words. And it seems like it keeps going back to these titans, to these mythological creatures, beings, gods, whatever they are.
It has to. And, we were talking, I had mentioned to you the systematical, the breaking down of the walls through all of us decoding, and perhaps all of us have a hand in the demise of bringing down this matrix. Well, that correlates to the Tower of Babel in the Bible. That story was they were trying to create a tower to get to heaven, but nope. Once they got there, that tower was destroyed, and then they were confused with their languages. So once that whole story to me is that once you reach a level of understanding, the game's going to be reset because you can only get so far.
Yeah.
All of us decoding right now are we're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together like never before. And we're figuring out that we are the computer. We're figuring out that we are the God.
Yeah.
And once that's figured out, you have this implosion, plutonium. Remember, it's not I had done this, I had decoded the Virgin, and Madonna is the word for the Virgin Mary. Madonna in the Francis Bacon's 244. And 244 is how many dots there are in the game Pac-Man.
Where'd you get that from?
144 dots on the board.
Where the fuck did you get that piece of information from?
Well, because I was decoding Pac-Man. Because it came to me, I was supposed to find it. But anyway, plutonium has 244. So plutonium is number 88, which is tied to the Taurus fields, which is tied to Shiva and Sirius and Pluto and Pac-Man. And we are the ghosts. And the ghosts are chasing that yellow guy called Pac-Man, which is the sun.
Yeah.
And that Pac-Man eats all the pellets, and that's time. That's the god of time running around the board, eating the pellets. And when that eats all 244 pellets, it's time for implosion. And the ghosts, which is what
it's literally 244 right now, dude.
Is it really? Oh, it is.
Yeah, in Virginia, where I'm at.
Wow, it is.
Fuck.
That's awesome.
Which, I look at military time, so what I saw was the 144.
Yeah, well, it's 100. It's 144 here because I'm an hour behind you. So it was 144. That's how these time zones, and that's why numbers encroach. For those of you
the universe, bro.
Yeah, the cosmos is speaking through us. Yeah.
This Pac-Man thing that you're breaking down is like the people who are listening to this right now. Like, wow. Like, this must be a hell of an experience for the listeners.
Yeah. It's fun.
Because to go through all of those little journeys, and then now we're here.
Yeah.
Where this number 244 is in Pac-Man, and you're breaking it down like the sun eating time.
Sun eating time. And the ghost, what happens if you get eaten by Pac-Man? You regenerate, you go back to the center of the game, and you regenerate a new body. That's reincarnation. So we're the goat. Pac-Man tells you that's the game of life. And, there are a perfect score in Pac-Man is like 3,333,390 is a perfect score.
Okay, so I have another piece of comedy for you.
Yeah.
Final boss equals 33 in Chaldean.
That's hilarious.
Dude, it's there, guys. It's just there, man. Like, you can't escape it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I had said, boss is, that's a great find, dude. Thank you for that. Because boss is 15 and the devil card is 15. And our name is 15. And ego is 15. So who's the boss? Your ego is. Which runs you, your identity, the little voice in your head. That's your boss.
And this is, okay, so this is something even crazier, right? I have a little thing to play around with. So when you're at like a concert, right? And there's like a really belligerent drunk guy next to you, some people like want to get on his energy and like be like, you know, push him or something like that. But what I've learned is when you're at a concert and there's somebody really drunk next to you, you want to like put your arm around him and just start laughing.
Yeah.
You want to make him, the guy who's under the influence, you want to make him your friend. He is under a state of consciousness where you're his final boss if you push him.
Sure.
So he's going to attack. So now let's consider the word boss. Like, of course, you're at work. You have a boss. You could do the same thing with your boss. Your boss could tell you what to do, and you could be like an absolute shithead to him, or you can just put your arm around him and go with the flow. Because at the end of the day, getting money, and you're going to go home, and it doesn't matter what he thinks or she thinks.
Yeah.
But the same, how do you become a boss quicker? By pushing everything aside and fighting it and giving it like that energy? Or do you allow it? Do you love it? Do you just allow it to be? And instead of us having a final boss, which some people think are like the Rothschilds or some shit, because that's where they're at, right? They're still selecting the final boss. For some people, it's the Jesuit order. Put your arm around that individual and just allow them to be who they are. And then you'll see this game will feel a lot more comfortable for you.
Yeah, good points. Very good points. Very good point. You don't have
like you don't want that drunk guy driving you home later. I'm not telling you to trust him. Big difference here. I'm not telling you to trust the Jesuit order. I'm not telling you to let these player characters become part of your life. You've decided to become part of their magic spell video game.
That's right.
So if you're going to jump, like what you just said, going into their store, they want you to wear a mask. Like you have to determine how you're going to play that game.
Yep.
And it's when you shift the way that you perceive everything into that like frame of mind, it becomes a lot more comfortable, in my opinion.
Totally. I couldn't agree with you more. These are very soft. For those of you listening right now, man, those are gems that were just dropped by Jordan. So that's, yeah, I love it. I think those are very important pieces of this topic called deception versus influence.
Also, like if you're opening up a lock, like on a door, or like if you have like one of those locks on like a gym locker, like if you're frustrated because you got the code wrong the first time, it's natural to actually keep fucking up the code on the second and third time. But if you just relax and you just like accept it for what it is, that lock will open up.
Yeah.
What we do with our energy is we like gumming up locks.
Yeah.
We like doing that with our energy because that's the energy. That's like, I don't know, maybe it's dopamine. I don't know what it is, but we fall for it quite often, where we tend to just like, we have two tanks, we'll call it, and I like a pool, right? We have two separate tanks full of water. One's full of, you know, frustration. The other one's full of like, damn, I don't even know what to say. Like when you are being triggered by dopamine, this satisfaction. Okay, that's what I want to say. It's like we have two tanks, right? We have one that's satisfaction and the other one is frustration. And we're playing a video game, like actually playing a video game. We're feeling it when we're winning and when we're doing good, we're satisfied. But when it goes against us, when we can't beat the final boss, we're on the other side of it.
Yeah.
We're frustrated. We're mad. But you in your life, your existence is literally the same exact thing. And if you want to hold the controller in this reality, if you actually want to hold the controller on your player character, you're going to have to eventually just give in to all of these things and just accept them for what they are. And instead of being so quick to be frustrated or so quick to be satisfied, you can see that balance point, that neutrality, will get you to the stage where you could finally put down the controller for once and for all.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a challenging thing for most people because, you know, like that's why they fight and kick and scream when something goes against their whole demeanor in life, is that they want to be in control. I mean, look, I've shown this so many times over and over throughout my decoding history. And whenever I put out a topic that's, you know, kind of more on the warm and fuzzy side, it doesn't get a lot of traction. But if I put something out that's very like encroaches on, you know, like Prison Planet, for example,
like 9/11.
Well, yeah. Yeah, people
People love that shit.
drawn towards it,
Yeah.
like flies to the like moths to a flame. And that's because that's how we're wired. Once somebody tells you you're in prison, immediately you will think of like, I got to get out.
Did I lose you?
Prison? Oh my God, I got to get out. I got to get out. So, this trap, because a lot of people think that I've seen so many videos, people think that we're souls trapped here. Right. And you're being influenced by that notion. Is it true? Well, it's true for you if you believe it. So,
it's all about belief, right? Like that's where the deception influence thing really starts to get to a crossroads. It's like, if you believe that you are being deceived, therefore you are.
Yep. I mean,
you could let them have power over you the same way you could think that your president matters. You can give them that power. You could elect them the power, literally.
Yep. I mean, is it a coincidence that the word believe equals 27, just like the word currency? I mean, is that a coincidence? So what does beliefs do? They cause currency. Currency is 27, beliefs 27. What do you believe in is coming from what you're influenced by. Are you an influencer or are you being influenced? It's going to be both, because I'm influenced by certain things. I'm influenced by numerology and prime numbers, and I'm influenced by that. But I certainly have taken myself away from being influenced by the news. I have cut the cord so much with that. And when I watch it like I'm watching a movie. That's what I do personally. I know it's just a big comedy show. It's all
entertainment.
It's entertainment. That's it. It's entertainment. And these people, and I think even the higher echelon people, are so in the game, they don't even realize that they're being influenced by something. They don't.
Well, like we were saying before about ego, about the cord that connects you. It's like, now we could look at it in reverse. Like with no ego, you don't even know there's a fucking cord connecting to you.
Yeah.
So you're just like on the umbilical, floating around in a sea of psyops.
I love it.
It's like, that's where you're trapped because you're there.
Yeah.
And those are also the first people to say that ego is bad.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you can make it that if you want. Just like people make Satan bad, just like people make God always good.
Yep.
And this is where you get, like, when people choose to no longer practice a faith, they always say these statements like, oh, well, if God is real, why did he let this poor child die of cancer? It's like, do you see what you're doing? You're shifting blame. Like, God is the most blamed.
Yeah.
He's the most worshipped and the most blamed.
Yeah.
What a fucking person that is.
What a paradox it is.
Yeah, what a paradox, for sure. So it's like, it's the infinite unsolvable Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
And we think by believing in the Rubik's Cube itself, it will be solved, or you will be solved. But all you're doing with that belief, this kind of reminds me, because the most intense way that I've ever come across this word belief was through listening to Osho. And he was saying that belief is a barrier, not a bridge. And I thought that was really strong. He articulated more than that. He is so funny. Like, talk about a spiritual leader who's a comedian. I was listening to one of his things where he was asked a question about government. And remember, we were just talking about government, so this is really hilarious. But you know who Osho is, right?
I do.
Okay, yeah. So he was asked about government. He responded saying, a government for the people, by the people, but the people are retarded.
Yeah.
He was talking about democracy. And this comes back to like Plato, whether this player character is real or not, just essentially like shitting on the idea of a democracy, because the people who are voting in that system are the profane, as the Illuminati calls us.
Yeah.
They are the unillumined.
Yeah.
So you give them choices and they make bad ones. And the ones that are the most illumined don't make choices.
Yeah.
The ones who are the most illumined do not vote.
Yep.
They don't give their energy to shit that isn't under their power.
That's right.
So once you vote, you're essentially signing off your power to some random.
Yep. Like they say, you sign your life away. and you get into a contract, sign your life away. Many people out there listening are involved in contracts, and they don't even realize that it's their beliefs that they're being influenced by. That's really
belief is such a strong word. I mean, there could be like a full-blown topic just about
yeah, absolutely.
See, with this one, it's going for a while because we chose 2 words.
Yeah.
That's exactly how these things work. I mean, I do this too in my I've been asked a couple times, like, what's a practice that we could all do before we go to sleep and before we go to bed? And I've said it's actually the lack of a practice. I believe you should not look at your phone before you go to sleep and when you wake up. And like, just by doing that, not like waking up and immediately looking at a screen, you can, you'll see things change. So however that resonates with other people, you know, good or bad, doesn't really matter to me. But I was asked that question quite a bit, and I was just thinking about that, how like these little things, like these tiny little changes that we make, whatever it is, can add up and compound and become massive.
Totally. Well, that's the thing, is they start off small and then they gain. That's what a self-fulfilling prophecy is. It's an idea, and then you share that idea with somebody and like, hey, I like that idea. And then they give you their energy, and now you have an idea that became real. And that's where, you know, I take the story of the Christ. People get mad when you say Jesus wasn't a real dude. Like, some people get really pissed off and they get upset at you, and they're just like, that's blasphemy. You better rebuke what you said. I get that now. And I'm just like, listen.
Why do they get, like, what do they?
Well, yeah, because
how do they let you know they're mad? Do they tell you a reason?
Yeah, well, they don't have to. They're under the influence of the Bible and the way they were programmed with their religion that they believe in, right?
Yeah,
and that's totally fine if that's what you want. But ladies and gentlemen, from my research, if you're out there listening, I can tell you right now, if you want to win this game, you can't be a part of any of those societies, because you're literally grounding your feet. You're nailing your hands to the ground, tied to that religion, which is currency that's part of this game. If you want to get out of this game, neutrality is where it's at. Neutrality means you can't have anything tapped into you. You can't be tied down to anything. That's how you win the game. And it's really challenging to do that. I mean, nirvana means nothing, right? Nirvana means you have nothing attached.
Yeah.
That's how you ascend. How does water become a vapor? If you just study nature, water's put under a flame, it gets heated up, and then the water ends up changing its state, and it moves into a vapor, steam, and it no longer is heavy. It can't be water anymore. So the water that's heavy, that's way down, gets heated up and becomes a vapor, and it becomes steam, and it rises. That's how you ascend. So if you just use that basic concept, think of your beliefs as inside that state of water. And we are water. The body's made up of primarily water. And all the beliefs that you have are stored up in your water, your vessel. And if you want to ascend, you have to strip away all those beliefs. And ascend means turning into vapor. You can't turn into a vapor until you get rid of the water. And that's nirvana.
So the word nothingness equals 144 in the English ordinal. That's really heavy for me.
Okay.
That's interesting. This number and also just this word nothingness, kind of like what we describe space as. I don't know, just really a lot. This number is really interesting to me. I would love for you to somehow decode this number more, and I'm sure you could find some insane connections in this 144.
Yeah, I mean, 144 is 93. And the 90, anytime you ever see anybody listening decoding, anytime you ever see the 93, the reason why they say we're 93 million miles away from the sun, because the time loop that we're on is 1937-46, and 46 is tied to the element molybdenum, and molybdenum means lead, and it's got an atomic weight of 93. So the number 42 means Earth, and it means 93. And it's tied to the 144, the chosen ones, and all that kind of stuff.
When you study the amount of distance between planets and the sun, it's pretty telling in a lot of other things. Like the code starts to show itself. That was something that I did one day. Like I started looking a little bit more into like the information that NASA provides us. And it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting stuff.
Okay.
I'm sure if you were to do a quick study of just like how far is Saturn from the sun, you'd start to see some interesting numbers show up.
Yeah, actually, some of my earliest work I did years ago was was on the sun and Saturn and how far away one another they are, and it was, I think the dividing aspect was when it ends up becoming 666. I think it's because it's 14. It's a 14. Yeah. So in numerology, the word sun equals 14 in Chaldean, and then Saturn's 21. So you have 14 and 21. And when you divide 14 into 21, you get 0.666. Yeah. So, and you got to figure, okay, well, what does Saturn mean? And what does sun mean? So you have to kind of make those correlations.
It's all about carbon, man.
Carbon, 6, yeah. 6 is the hexagon, 6-sided polygonal shape.
Yeah, do you see, I don't know if you have this on your phone, but the YouTube Studio app just updated, and it's literally 2 hexagons.
Oh, is it?
And a triangle in the middle.
Huh. I have the app, I just don't really use it, but yeah, I have it on my phone. I've had it for a while. I didn't know that it has that.
Yeah, I mean, just I've noticed like I've been trying to work a little bit more on decoding like the color combinations and stuff. And like whenever I see white and blue together or white and red, it's definitely like there's some power behind that. And I'm still working through how to utilize that. Like I try to not expose information if it has no utility for my work, because otherwise it's just me being curious. Yeah. And although that stuff has some place in my live streams, I have so much to say just about the market in and of itself, because there's a whole gambit of information that could be shared with that. Yep. But with decoding, it's really hard. And, obviously if you were to look at some of these cryptocurrencies logos, you're going to see these color combinations show up in some of these coins. It's really interesting. How that all plays a tie in it, because I believe it's intentional. It's very intentional. Yeah, I mean, I had said this, I think on my last live, I had said, like Santos is a big proponent of the Taurus fields and the red shift, blue shift, which is, red, white, and blue on the France flag, United States flag. And then when you look at the chakras, it's the root to the throat. And of course the word was God. So everything has to be spoken through the throat chakra, which is supposed to be classically supposed to be blue. So if you take police lights on a police car, I mean, the chakras are supposed to be red to violet, right? But if you imagine you had a cop car with red and violet lights on it going back and forth, they would really blend together. There would be no contrast. Yeah. When you lower it down to blue, you now have a very distinct contrast. And, blue is very dense. So I think that's the very reason why. But that 15, that's the 1 and the 5, and that's 15 tied to name, identity, and the devil card. So the 1 to 5 is tied to the devil. Red and blue, anytime you see red and blue on a cop card, it's the devil. Right? Which is us. Yeah, the officer, the enforcer of law, and law all comes back to Saturn. Courts. Yep. The enforcer. And
that's why it's important to look at your natal charts, all of you listening, and locating at where your Saturn's at, because it will tell you a lot about, like Jordan, you have yours in the 7th house, which is in your crown chakra. So what is it telling all of us? Well, you're bringing strict accordance. You're bringing, the Grim Reaper to your crown chakra, which is kind of the regulator. 7 is the regulator. 7 is pH balance. 7 is balance. The number of balance is this number 7. So what are you essentially doing? What did you incarnate to do? You came here to issue order to the world through your concepts of influence.
Bro, Dude, Grim Reaper equals 33 in Chaldean. What the fuck? It's like everything that we talk about. Massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's absolutely massive. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So I think we should probably end this. I think we're over 3 hours now, but
Yeah, man, for sure. We're
I wanted to point out to all the listeners that have made it this far, thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting Jordan's channel and mine. But I wanted to point out, I have this upcoming Decode. I'll leave it with this since you said the 33 and the Grim Reaper, and it's tied to the word astronaut and flat Earth and all these kind of interesting concepts. But I was looking at, and I'm coming out with the Superstar Decoded, which is tied to the Christ, and the Sun, which is the boss. And I can tell all of you right now, the reason why Jesus and Lucifer both equal the number 74 in the English cipher is because it's tied to the 74th element on the periodic table, which is tungsten. And tungsten, if you do your research, was used to make light bulbs. The filament was tungsten. And what do light bulbs do? They illuminate. And that's why Lucifer is known as the light bringer. But then you have one other layer that you must bring into all of this, and that's the 33rd element, called arsenic. And arsenic has an atomic weight or isotope of 74. So you have this seesaw battle going on of tungsten, which is otherwise known as wolfram. That's why it has the letter W for its abbreviation, feed the wolf. And that's for light bulbs, illuminate. So to be illuminated, when you see Illuminati, it means 74. Just those of you that want to know, the esoteric meaning behind illumination and the Illuminati is the number 74. And of course, it's also the number 33, which is Jordan, that's your birth card. So it's, it's the seesaw battle of it. It could be that the Christ and Lucifer, and as I said, they're one and the same, but it's the good cop, bad cop scenario. And you can't have one without the other. You need the identity to go along with the spirit. I mean, is there a coincidence that spirit is 19 and ego is 15, and the 19th card is the sun card and the devil card is the 15th card? Is that a coincidence? So we are both the devil and the sun. You're both the spirit and your ego. And in order to ascend out of this reality, you got to let go of all your beliefs, which are attached to your identity. Your identity contains all of your influences and what you believe in this world. So those are my parting words for this great conversation. Jordan, I want to thank you for sharing some of your day with all of us. And I appreciate you, man, very much.
I appreciate you too. I'm really grateful to be able to do this with you for the third time. And cheers to many more of these.
Yeah, it's becoming a series now. So we'll definitely be coming out with part 4 and just let it go, and wherever it goes, it goes. But this has been a fun one for sure.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm excited for the next one.
Any parting words for your listeners and subscribers, and maybe just some parting words for whatever?
Well, yeah, I mean, any of those of you out there that are interested in the code and want to know a little bit more about cryptocurrency, which is literally a code. It is blockchain technology, which was coded. So there's something really fascinating there. And I've been connecting cryptocurrency with gematria, numerology, and astrology now for some time, and have my own channel. I'll probably be in the link of the description box of this video. And besides that, I'm just making educational material. I have a Patreon account, which links to a Discord, which is really incredible because we have 2,000 people in it now, and a lot of them are decoders. Some of them are professional astrologers. Really incredible community going over there. And that's
awesome.
About all.
That's awesome. Well, listen, man, you're living through a true aspect of your code. And as an observer, I'm highly influenced by what you're doing. So I think it's great. And I want to just let everyone know out there, if you feel someone's deceiving you, then obviously you shouldn't be hanging around with that group of people or those people. So don't let them influence you. because they're just influencing. And be an influencer instead of critiquing and just kind of like bashing other people and saying that they're wrong and all that we get all that kind of stuff. That's your ego saying all that. Just get out there and create your own content and be an influencer, be a creator. And as the great influencer, his name was, I can't even think of his name now, darn, but he said that people would rather have the power. They would rather have the things Neville Goddard, the great Neville Goddard, said that the majority of people would rather have the things created than the power to create. And that's what we're seeing on the world stage today. So try to flip that for yourself, that narrative, and be a creator. Be a creator and be an influencer and create your own bubble in your own world. Disconnect from the static. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing out there, because what matters is what you're doing out there, most importantly. So anyway, folks, thanks very much to everyone that was listening, that came in to be a part of this series now. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. My special guest, Jordan from Waters Above Crypto. It's been an honor, brother. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see you later.